Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about passions. I am your regular host, LeTara, back with a great co host, Maria.
Hey,
Hey, Maria. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for being
I,
here.
I am so happy to be back. I've missed this place.
We've missed you, and especially these last couple of weeks.
Oh,
So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have anybody to talk to, but I'm especially thrilled to have you to talk to. Okay.
oh,
So
well, thank you. I appreciate.
I'm
And of
I'm
course, you're
actually
finding another week without Gwen. That's fine because you're not ready for
wait a
the
minute.
love. You're not ready.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm just telling the fans, stay tuned because when she's on, me and Latara, that
Wi-
friendship might be contentious, but it'll be fun. I'll
Listen,
guarantee you.
we're definitely gonna have you back on during the Gwen Teresa when it really ramps up. Like
Oh
when it
yeah,
really ramps
yeah.
up. Yeah.
No, and wait till Liza gets back because she brings it.
Just wait
She
till
always
she
brings
gets
it.
back. Yeah. So we're talking about episodes through 631 through 635 this week.
Yes,
Yes.
we are.
It was a
Yes.
little, it was an easier watch this week than it was the last week because there was at least in the magic storyline, there was a lot of fun things going on.
Yes.
But we're
Yes.
still doing a lot of the heavy talk around abortion. So again, like I've said the last few weeks, if
Yeah.
when we get to that point, you need to turn it off, turn it off.
Mhm.
No harm, no foul. Nobody's gonna blame you for it. Turn it off. It's just a silly
Exactly.
podcast.
Hmm.
But like my feelings have not changed.
No, no. And I have listened to the last episode, and I will at least say that we're kind of in agreement. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
we'll be
Good.
okay.
We're gonna be
It's
fine. Yeah.
unfortunate we can't show all sides and all opinions, but in this case, me and you're going to be kind of on the same page. So,
Listen, so we can say what. Listen, Passions is giving us the one side, and we're giving the
also
viewers
true.
the other side, the correct side,
That's
the correct
also
side.
true. The correct side.
Okay,
No offense for those
no,
that disagree,
no
but
offense.
this just these are our opinions.
Yeah, of
That's all
course,
these are our opinions.
of
So okay,
course.
but
All
we'll
right.
get there.
All right, before we get into the show, let's give a shout out to all the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Munashe, Marcus, Brelin, Lisa, Sid, Sarana, whose house I'm in right now. That's my mom. Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, George Lopez Fitzgerald, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, and Casey. Thank you all so very much for continuing to be patrons and supporting the show. And anybody out there who's not a patron yet, if you would like to become a patron, go on over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. Now on
Yes,
with the show. That's my ad.
yay.
Now on with the show. So this week we are going to start with magic because we want to start with the fun stuff first and slowly descend into the rest of the madness
Oh
that
God, yeah.
is passions.
Ooh.
So let's pick up with Tabitha and Timmy and all the Bennetts and all of these people. The Bennett's house is done, y'all, and it looks
Oh,
exactly the same.
I was gonna say if they couldn't even change the color of the walls. Like you're gonna tell me you love that place so much that you couldn't even redecorate?
They brought in the exact same set. And it's crazy because the set that they were using while everybody was like painting the rooms and stuff was it had white walls. So they could have just painted that set, but they didn't. They
Yeah.
just brought back in the old set and so the house looks
They
exactly
found
the
the
same.
same furniture. They found the same wall
E-
paintings. Exactly the same.
everything.
I
Everything's
mean, I know
exactly the
that they
same.
explained it that like the insurance company basically just gave them the money to get the same house, but like the exact same house?
Not
How does
just
that
the
work?
same house, the same stuff. Like
The same stuff.
how long did you live in that house? They've been living in that house for what, like 20 years? How did you even find that couch again?
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean? Where did you even
Also,
find it?
could we point out that like they went through the insurance company to be able to rebuild their house, but Sam did all the work. So who did? Where did the money go
They
if
pocketed
he
it.
built the house?
They
He kept
pocketed it.
it.
And listen, I'm not mad at them because listen, if you are capable of like doing the work yourself, yeah, pocket the insurance money. Take the
I
money.
didn't see not one subcontractor, not one plumber,
No,
electrician. Like,
it was just like one day Sam, Hank, and David Hastings like hammered a couple of nails, and now we've got a whole house. That's
yeah, a
that's what
whole
happened.
house.
Okay,
Okay.
so Timmy and Tabitha are doing what they do. They're recapping all the storylines.
Hmm. Hmm.
Timmy, they're in like the attic, right? And Timmy takes out Pinocchio, the book of Pinocchio, and he's reading through it. And he's
Oh,
like, wow, this is a great book. This is so
oh,
cool. And he's like, oh, I could become a real boy. And then Tabitha tells him, no matter how brave or unselfish you are, or even how nice you are, you will never be turned into a real boy. We work for the dark side. Nobody cares if you're good. You're not going to get any rewards from the dark side.
hmm.
She does this all week long where he's talking
Yeah.
about how he wished he could be a real boy, and
Telling
she
his
has
dreams.
zero validating words for him, zero
None.
comforting words for him.
None.
Only
But
you.
it comes from a place of fear because she loves Timmy and she doesn't want to lose him. Because if
Mm,
you give him autonomy, he can leave. He has
yeah,
autonomy.
yeah, and especially if Timmy is good and Tabitha's bad, you know what I mean, evil, and he gets pulled over to the good side. But Timmy's
Hmm.
been very clear about how much he loves his princess, and that
Yeah.
he doesn't want to leave her. He just doesn't agree with all the things that she does. You know,
Exactly.
honestly,
Exactly.
Timmy's the most emotionally mature male on the show.
And
He
the
really
cutest.
is. He is
And
the
the
cutest
cutest.
and the most mature, emotionally mature.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm actually missing your Timmy doll that you tend to have behind you.
I know I'm missing Timmy. Timmy's not here. This was the week I needed it, and I don't have it.
Exactly.
Yes, I left
Oh,
it at
because
home.
wait till we get to the end of the recap. It's so cute.
Cause
But I
listen,
did make a comment because the show starts with rub a dub dub, so much pain in the tub and in the scroll. What does that mean? Like, I love
I
Tabitha's
I
antics.
have stopped writing down so much of the nonsense. Like especially like when it doesn't even rhyme. It's like this didn't
Yeah.
even rhyme. Y'all didn't even try.
Didn't
Rub a
even
dub dub. So much pain and suffering in the tub and in the scroll.
in the scroll. Yeah. Yeah. But I do appreciate her giving the recap. Because I believe this
Oh yeah.
probably aired like during like a spring break or like some sort of probably winter break so that
Mm-hmm.
whoever's like in school and doesn't get to record it because the audience was a bit on the younger side gets to sort of like figure out, oh, what happened since the last time, because I haven't seen it in a couple of weeks, so
Yeah.
it is kind of nice for those people to sort of like get caught up on the storyline,
I think they're
which is
that
why
I
she
think you're
does it.
exactly right because it would have been winter break. These episodes aired the week of Christmas and the week after Christmas.
Oh,
So like
exactly, so that's why.
yeah, so yeah, they do the recap and everything. She tells Timmy he'll never be a real boy. Meanwhile, the Bennetts are downstairs in Tabitha's house decorating her house without her permission for Christmas as a thank you to her. And Tabitha said exactly when she saw it, she said exactly what I thought, which was if you wanted to thank her, you could have given her some money.
I wrote that in my notes. Like, yeah, how about money?
You
You can
rearrange
stay
instead
there
you
for
rearrange
free.
her whole house.
With Also, why are you assuming she's Christian?
Mm.
She could be Jewish.
You never see her at church. You never see her
Yeah.
at church. And
So why
you've never seen any religious iconography in her house. So,
exactly?
yeah, no.
What
And
makes
you've
you
never heard her
think?
talk about it.
No, not at
No.
all. Not
They
at all.
just
Instead of
assumed.
spending whatever money that you spent on these give it to her. Just
Yeah,
give her the money you spent on these decorations because that was a lot of decorations.
it was. Give her the cash value. They bought a bunch
Yeah.
of angels and put them around her
Very
house.
presumptuous of them to just assume that everyone celebrates Christmas.
Yeah, so while they're all downstairs decorating Tabitha's house, Miguel talks to Kay and asks her if she knows what's going on with Charity. He says she's not acting like herself, which no, she is not, y'all. And I love this zombie Charity. she's more dynamic. She's more interesting. And whether you agree or disagree with the things that she says and does, is it more interesting to watch than, oh, Miguel. Oh, Miguel, I love you. Or regular Charity has like two modes. It's like, Miguel, I love you. Miguel, I love you. Or, we're all gonna die. I can't. So I love this Charity. She's got more levels. There's
Yeah.
more things going on. But
It
Kay assures,
gave the actress something to sort of grab onto to
yeah,
actually show her chops.
I'm glad that they did this for her, honestly, because because what Charity normally has to do makes it seem like Molly, the actress, is maybe not so good of an actress. But it's not that she's a bad actress, it's that she doesn't have anything to do. And that
Yeah.
what she has done, she's done for the last 600 episodes, and we're tired of it. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that they did this so that she could show off her chops, because she's doing a great job. She's doing a
She
great job.
is.
She really
She
is.
really is.
But so Charity, Miguel asks Kay what's going on with Charity. Kay assures him, like, I'm sure that she's just tired. You know, she loves you, she adores you. She's maybe she says to him, maybe you're being a little sensitive. Kay.
Yeah.
Kay's doing a really good job. Her plan is great. I can
Oh,
finally
it is.
say Kay has a great plan. I know it goes a little awry, but it's not really her fault.
Yeah.
So she says to him, I'm sure that the two of you will have a wonderful time at the Nutcracker tonight. Because remember, Kay gave them both tickets to go see the Nutcracker.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says, thank you, Kay. Thanks for setting me straight. I'm going to go give Charity a kiss, and I'm going to make sure that tonight will be a special night with a woman that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And Kay turns away from him and she's like, tonight will be you will spend tonight with the woman that you will spend the rest of your life with, and you realize Kay has like schemed
She's talking
something
about
up,
herself.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tabitha comes down. Jessica invites Tabitha down to like get her surprise. uh Tabitha, before they go downstairs, because Jessica comes up to invite her down to see what their surprise is,
Mm-hmm.
and before she goes down, she makes like a crack about like it's probably one of Grace's horrible tomato soup cakes. They dog tomato soup cake in these episodes, because Ivy brings it up too at one point.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah,
No, but there was a point where I think Ross, even I'm now
even
calling him
you're
Ross,
calling him Ross.
says something. No, but Tabby goes, yes, Ross, drop it. Tomato, cold hard cash. And that was when she even said about the money.
Yeah. It's like, why didn't they give me money?
Exactly.
Why didn't they give me money? Yeah. No, I would be so irritated if somebody was like, oh, thank you for letting me stay here. Here's a tomato soup cake.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? But anyway, Tabitha comes down mortified once she gets downstairs. Like, it's like the psycho music. She's like looking around her house. She's like, what have these fucking people done to my home?
Yeah.
So she tells Timmy. Timmy's like, Timmy loves it. He's like, oh, this is great. This is beautiful. Can't we just get into the Christmas spirit, Tabitha? Of course, nobody sees him doing this or talking about this. I just want to be clear, because this is the moment that the Bennetts are also moving out of her house. So this was like
Yeah.
their goodbye gift to her. So
Yeah.
like basically, once they're all gone, Timmy tells Tabitha, can't we keep these things up? We love that. I
No.
kind of like them. And wouldn't it be suspicious if all of the decorations disappeared? And Tabitha agrees. She's like, you know what? You're not wrong. You're
But
right,
it
Timmy.
upsets the people in the basement.
He's
And
like,
they started rattling the pipes.
yeah, they start making noise. The friends in the basement start making noise just as the Bennetts are like about to leave. But Tabitha's like, oh, it's just my leaky pipes. I should go check on them. Nothing really comes of that. I thought that she was gonna go down there and they were gonna like talk to her, but we don't see her talk to the friends in the basement.
Yeah.
So Timmy goes to the kitchen and there's one of Grace's many angels that she has planted around Tabitha's house in the kitchen, and the angel turns into that little angel girl. She's
Who's not
much
a
taller
girl.
now. This little
She's
girl's
not
gone
a little
through
girl anymore.
she's gone through puberty.
Yes, I didn't know angels could do that.
Yeah, she's an angel woman.
Yeah.
And so she comes to life and she tells Timmy that there's a chance he'll get his wish to become a real boy. Because remember last week he wished on the Christmas star that he would like to be a real boy. And Tabitha comes in and sees the angel in her kitchen, and she tells Timmy, "You'll never become a real flesh and blood boy. I won't allow it." Jesus, Tabitha. Oh, but like you said, it is out of like she doesn't want to lose Timmy, but it
Yeah.
sounds very vicious the way she says the things that she says to him.
Yeah.
And she yells at the angel to get out. She tries to like catch it. She yells at it to get out, but she also tries to catch it. But the angel just kind of disappears. She says, "I created him. Ah, he's mine." The angel, actually, before the angel disappears, Tabitha says, "I created him. He's mine," and tries to catch the angel. And the angel retorts, "We are all God's creations." And then she disappears. Okay,
Mm.
we are all God's creations. I mean, in this particular world where the like they've made it they've made it so that Christianity is what goodness is, and that
Hmm.
Tabitha works for like the devil, I guess, in the dark
Yeah.
side. Then and that all of those things are actually real in this world. Okay, then
Hmm.
we are all God's creations. She makes a
Yeah.
good point.
And it is Christmas week.
And it is Christmas. Lord, and they do not let us forget it. They do
No.
not let us forget it. Um,
No.
so the angel's voice assures Timmy ethereally that there is hope, Timmy. There is hope. And there is hope, y'all. I loved what happened with Timmy this week. So
Yes.
let's go back to what's going on with Kay. Based on Kay's suggestion, Miguel and Charity make a plan to meet at the theater for the Nutcracker instead of like Miguel coming to pick Charity up from the house, because Kay looks at her watch and she tells Miguel, "I don't think you'll have enough time to go home, take a shower, change, and come back here and get to the theater on time.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all should just meet at the theater." And he kind of reluctantly agrees. Charity's very cold towards him through the entire week.
Yeah.
And so he leaves. Kay um then meets him at the theater instead of Charity. Like they go to the
Yeah.
theater
Hmm.
and he's sitting there waiting for her, or she's sitting there waiting for him. I can't remember.
He's there waiting for her, and then she
Okay.
shows up.
Yeah. And so she shows up and tells him that Charity wasn't feeling well, and she said
Hmm.
that she says Charity wasn't feeling well. She said that I should go instead. And Miguel, being Miguel, because I was like, Miguel's never gonna stay at this ballet without Charity, right?
Exactly.
Miguel's like, "Oh, I should go check on her." Of course, that's Miguel's character. He
Yeah.
anytime something's wrong with Charity, he's gonna rush to her side.
Yeah.
So it was to me, I don't know. What happens is she tells him that Charity is sick. He tries to go, but she says, "Oh, Miguel, she'll be sleeping by now," and she said she really just wanted us to have a good time, and that's enough to keep
Exactly.
Miguel there. But
Yeah. Well, because he also knows that if he would have showed up, he would have just said, "You need to rest." So she's doing it already. So
that's true. He would have just said, "You know what? You're just tired. You need to
you're
take a
just
nap."
tired.
That is
And she's
true.
already doing that.
I just feel like everything we've seen about Miguel and everything we know about Miguel says that he would do the opposite of what Kay and Charity want, right?
Yeah,
He's only ever
that's
going to do
true.
what he wants to do. But he
Yeah, because if
stays
he's
there.
worried, why would she be sick? And she was just fine before. So even a
Right.
phone call, I'm surprised that he's like, well, let me at least call and check
Mhm.
in on her because she didn't tell me. Because I mean, yeah, if you're with someone and you just decide you don't want to go and you're going to send someone, you would kind of find a way of communicating that.
Yeah, I agree. But he stays there with Kay. She like puts her arm through his arm and snuggles up to him. He looks so concerned. Like, but they sit there and watch the ballet. And then the next morning, Kay has a dream that Charity is the real Charity escaped from the ice, and she and Miguel come into her room and call her despicable and evil girl. You're disgusting, and everyone's gonna know that you are evil. And then Charity starts smothering her with a pillow. She's like,
Yes.
I'm gonna kill that other Charity, and then I'm gonna kill you. And
Yes.
then a shirtless Miguel comes into Kay's room and wakes her up because Kay is still living. I guess this was her last night at Miguel's house.
Yeah.
But you know what? This begs the question actually. If Kay was staying at Miguel's house, and remember she had on a really cute gown when she went to the
Hmm.
Nutcracker. Was that gown at Miguel's house? Like, did she go to Miguel's house get ready while he was getting ready? You know what I mean? And you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I'm sure Kay had it figured out. She probably went to like
Yeah.
Simone's house or something. I'm sure she had it figured out.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, shirtless Miguel comes in, wakes Kay up from her nightmare, comforts her. He says, "You were just having a bad dream." And he says, "Bad dreams can't come true." And Kay looks off into the distance and she thinks, I hope they can't. Like, I hope they can't come true because like that was a nightmare. And so meanwhile, we see Charity in the ice and her fingers are moving. We can see
Yeah.
her fingers move.
Yeah.
So y'all, Charity's like waking up.
Now, did she get frozen with her mouth wide open? Because every time I look at her face, she's like,
Yeah, I think she did. It was like
okay.
because the ice was like creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, and then it just all of a sudden like whooshed up, and I think she was like in mid scream, like
Ah,
about
got
to
it.
scream, and then it, yeah, I think it. If I remember
It
correctly,
just
I'm pretty
looks
sure.
so funny through the ice. Like she's giving me David Blaine. I don't know if you remember when he did that trick, and he's like, "I'm gonna stay in ice for like 5 days without eating and stuff."
David Blaine. He used to do all those like crazy magic tricks. Was he the
Yeah,
one that? No, that was David Copperfield. I was about to say, was he the one that
complicated.
went over the Grand Canyon? But no, that was David Blaine was the one that was in like the box, like the clear box.
He would always put himself in these boxes for like days on end,
Yeah,
you know. And it's like, dude, it's obviously magic because it's impossible. You have to eat and drink and
it's
use the bathroom. Like,
it's real magic. He's actually
yeah,
the
it's
real.
real. You know what? Let me take that back. Real magic.
It's real
He's really
magic,
doing
Maria. Haven't you learned
it.
anything from Passions?
He
Magic is
obviously
real.
has the book of spells and encased himself in
He's
magic. That's what
he's
it
in
is.
cahoots with the dark side.
Yeah,
David Blaine.
exactly. What am
Uh,
I thinking?
what are you thinking? So yes, uh Kay is concerned that maybe Charity might be not on ice anymore.
Hmm.
So she's gonna go and check on that. Meanwhile, Miguel calls Charity to check on her, and she's so rude to him. She's just like, she answers the phone. He's like, hey, Charity, I was just checking to see if you're okay. And she's like, I'm fine. Okay, you're the one that said you were sick. And
Yeah, exactly.
then she actually says, well, actually, I'm still not feeling good once he says he's gonna come over.
Hmm.
She's like, I'm still not feeling that well, and maybe you shouldn't come over. And also don't call here again because I need to rest.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And so she goes back into the living room. All the other kids are there. Like not Charity, Simone, Reese,
Hmm.
and Jessica are all there, and they ask
Yeah.
her, oh, is Miguel coming over? And she says, oh no, he said he was too busy. Okay, okay, zombie Charity. You're working
She's
it.
doing her job.
You really are. She's gonna be employee of the month. Um,
Yep. Yep.
uh, Jessica then asks her if everything is okay between the two of them, and
Hmm.
she says everything's fine. And then she goes up to her room. Miguel is continuing to kind of confide in Kay, which is exactly what she was wanting. He's talking
Hmm.
to her about Charity. Kay offers to spend the day with him. It's like, well, maybe you and I could spend the day together. And he's like, no, no, thank you. Hard pass, bitch.
Oh my god, you might be my best friend, but apparently I don't even like hanging out with you.
Exactly. How are y'all supposed to be best friends and y'all can't even spend the day that you don't even want to spend the day together if you're just because your girlfriend doesn't want to talk to you?
Yeah.
But he wants to be alone. He wants to be alone. And so he goes out brooding around town, just like walking around town, seeing couples and feeling sighing heavily, like, ah, Charity and I used to be like that. So Kay then decides to go and check on Charity in the cave for whatever reason. I don't know that, because I mean the cave is rocked in or closed in. She's
Yeah.
in a block of ice. It's freezing still. The temperatures are freezing, and inside the cave it will be even colder.
Mm-hmm.
You have no reason to believe that the ice has melted, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see that the rocks are still there. There's no way she got out.
Yeah.
But Kay
I mean, she
decides,
does know that the ice is magic, so the temperature being cold isn't gonna keep it solidified because it is magic and the magic can go. So Charity could be behind the rocks, not in
that's
case,
that's
if
fair
to
enough.
give any, grace to Kay.
No,
But
you're right.
dude, there is a lot of rocks. Like she ain't like it is Christmas week, but she ain't Jesus.
She
Charity is not gonna move the block.
3 days, 3 days in the tomb. She came back to life. No, no, you're right. I guess I was thinking about it, but you're absolutely right, because every other spell that Kay has done from that book have worn off over some
Mm-hmm.
time. Like the Panther spell, the one where she was like the doppelganger of Charity, they just wore off. She didn't find a way to turn herself back. They just stopped
Mm-hmm.
working. So you're absolutely right about that. I guess in my mind I was thinking that it's magic and it's magic ice. Surely the magic ice will be like impervious to heat anyway. But no, the
Yeah.
spells have worn off in the past. So that makes sense. But yeah, she is still blocked into that cave. But if the ice melts, she can scream for help and maybe people will come and dig her out.
That's
So
also true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what? We're giving Grace some K. Giving Grace some K. Oh my God. We're giving
I know.
Kay.
I almost did the same thing.
We're giving Kay some grace on this front. So she goes to the cave, finds that it's still closed off, but she wants to go in and check to make sure that Charity is still on ice. So the evil book says, "Your wish is my command," and it appears to help her. And
Mm-hmm.
so she gets the rocks cleared away. She goes in, she
Mm-hmm.
sees Charity in the ice. She's like, good, she's still in the ice. But then she starts to feel a little bit sad. Like she has the tiniest bit of a guilty conscience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at first she says, maybe I should let her out of here. Like, what am I doing? I think she says, what am I doing? This is only gonna eventually she's gonna get out. This is only gonna
Mm-hmm.
make her and Miguel go grow closer together. I should just give up on this. And then she says, no, I shouldn't. Immediately. She thinks about
Yeah.
it for about 2 seconds and then she says no, and tells Charity, you're stuck in there for good. And then we see Charity's fingers moving again, so we know Charity's not stuck in there for good.
Yeah. I
Uh
wonder if if she's conscious and able to hear what's going on outside the ice. That's going to be interesting once it does wear off to see, like, did Charity see that Kate came in and,
she
talk
won't
to her?
remember. Even if she did see it, even if she could see it, she won't remember it. Charity can never remember anything. When she comes out of that ice, she's not going to remember a goddamn thing. I
Yeah.
like I would be shocked. I would be truly shocked if she came out of that ice and was like, "Kay did this to me. I remember everything." No,
I saw it all.
yeah, and she came to visit me and everything. She's not going to remember
Yeah,
anything.
that's true.
In fact,
That's
she's
true.
probably going to come out of the ice and make her way out far enough to like faint and somebody to find her. They take her to a
Hmm.
hospital. She's in a coma for a little while. She'll wake up. I like they're going to
That's
I don't
true.
know. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but she's not going to
It's,
remember this. She's
yeah.
not going to
Or
remember
there
this.
could be a tree that starts talking to her. Shouldn't the trees be trying to help her?
The
Like,
trees. Yeah. Yeah, the trees are going to help call for help for Charity, but nobody will listen to them because she's the only one who can understand the tree language.
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, let's talk that's basically what's going on with them right now. Let's talk a bit about
Oh,
Tabitha.
oh, are we gonna circle back during the gift exchange?
Yes, we're gonna circle
Okay, we're
back
gonna
during
circle
the
back.
gift
Okay,
exchange.
because
Yes.
that was hilarious.
Yes. Because they they go to mass. Everybody goes to mass. So I figured I would do everything that's up to mass and then do
Okay,
all the aftermath stuff. But
got it.
let's talk. And I just took my notes just chronologically. And so it's just
No, that's fine.
all the
I just,
magic. And there's so much Timmy and Tabitha stuff this week.
yes,
Which
that's awesome.
normally we don't have. We normally do not have a lot of Timmy and Tabitha stuff. Most of their stuff is like hijinks, a couple of
Mm-hmm.
spells, some recap, but for the most part, they're just talking about what's going
Yeah,
on with the
it's an
kids.
action-packed week. People are home. They're tuning in every day. They're keeping people engaged so that they can
Yes,
continue to watch.
because Timmy and Tabitha are a lot of people's favorite part of the show, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was nice because typically they don't have their own things going on. They usually have things going on that are connected to specifically Kay and Charity, right?
Yeah.
This week they really have their own kind of separate thing happening. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh so once Jessica and Grace thank Tabitha for her hospitality, they move out of the house. All the Bennetts are moving out of her house now. Tabitha gets thrown away those Christmas presents like we talked about, and Timmy tells her not to. We already talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Then Timmy and Tabitha go out for a walk, and Timmy keeps talking about Christmas and how he wishes they could just that Tabitha could get into the Christmas spirit. And he makes a phone call. We see him making a phone call after Tabitha
Mm-hmm.
goes to, like, I don't know, get some hot chocolate. They're always going to get hot chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in this show loves hot chocolate.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
whatever. I guess it's the Christmas drink. But we see him making a phone call, and then he runs over to Tabitha and tells her that Dr. Russell left a message for them on her answering machine to go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And Timmy tells her that he had put himself on a transplant list to get a real heart. And so
Yes.
he thinks that his wish is coming true. He's getting a real heart because Tabitha had told him the reason he can't feel anything is because he doesn't have a heart. Like, but Timmy
Yeah.
does feel lots of things. Um,
Exactly. But I do want to point out the reason why they went for a walk was because Tabitha wanted to go to the skating rink and throw chestnuts on the lake.
so watch the skaters fall. I forgot about that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love
that's what
that.
she was going to buy. That's exactly what she was going to buy. She was going to buy
Chestnuts.
chestnuts, not hot chocolate.
Yes.
She was going to buy chestnuts to throw on the
Yeah.
skating rink because
I love those too.
she's
Like
a
her
bad
attitude.
lady. I love her.
But her
Um,
bad is not like evil, like killing people. No, she just likes doing practical jokes. Like that seems to be her thing. I'm just
she's
gonna
a
do some practical
practical
jokes.
joker.
Yeah.
She's just a practical joker. What a jokester. When she killed Charity's mom, it was just a practical joke.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is true. But who has she killed since?
Listen, Tabitha killed a bunch of people at the beginning of this show, and then I guess they decided to dial her back a little bit because she
Well, they
killed.
took away her powers.
Yeah, they did take away her power. That's true. They took away her powers. Yeah, and that dialed her back. That
Yeah,
knocked her down a few pegs because she was just
yeah,
murdering
that is
at
true.
the
Okay,
beginning of the show.
yeah, you're right. But since losing her powers, she just
So,
likes playing practical jokes
she,
now.
she's honestly, I do think Tabitha's growing a little bit of like goodness within her, and that's what is
Well, because
happening.
something's rubbing off on her.
Exactly. So he tells Tabitha, we have to go to the hospital. I'm gonna get my heart today. Why else would Dr. Russell have called you and told you to bring me to the hospital with you? So they get to the hospital, and Dr. Russell tells Tabitha that she and Timmy have personally been invited to a holiday show in the psych ward. And she
Hmm.
says someone over there made a big fuss and wouldn't even take their meds until they invited you to the show. Tabitha and Timmy are like racking their brains trying to figure out who would have invited them. But who do y'all think? Who do you know in the psych ward? Y'all got Norma locked up in there in the first
Yeah,
place. You're the reason
yeah.
she's locked up in there.
But
Of
I
course
think
it's
they
Norma.
even hint at because I think Tabitha and Timmy are like, could it be Norma? And they're like, nah, I can't.
Nah. But
Nah,
of course it's Norma. Who else would
of
it be?
course. Yeah. And
So
how does a hospital staff invite someone on behalf of anyone and not tell them who? Like,
who?
since
Yeah.
when is a hospital into surprises?
Yeah, listen, Harmony Hospital is a terrible hospital.
It is a
As we
big joke because
as we learn more and more throughout this show, like with all of the botched medical records, all of the HIPAA violations, like it's a
and
horrible
we are
place.
talking about Eve Russell.
And she seems to be the woman in charge at this
Yeah,
hospital.
who
So,
also works at the psychiatric department.
mhm. She's every doctor. Eve's every doctor. It's all in Eve. It's all in Eve. She's every doctor.
So Eve.
But yeah, they go to this show, and it's a lot of what you would expect. I will say, this kind of portrayal of like a psychiatric ward would absolutely not fly today. It was just way too insensitive. It made way too light of like mental health issues.
Yes.
Um
Even Timmy protested about the use of dolls.
He did.
Yes,
Because
he did.
one of the acts was a ventriloquist act,
Hmm.
and Timmy says, "I don't like this exploitation
He
of
said
dolls."
Timmy protests the exploitation of dolls.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, Timmy. I get where you're coming from, buddy.
Hmm.
Then one of the nurses recognizes Tabitha as an escaped patient, and well, says she looks just like a patient who escaped. This doesn't actually go anywhere. I thought maybe they were gonna capture her, but it doesn't go anywhere. I
Yeah.
don't know why they even brought it up, and honestly, I should have left it out. but the
I
sh-
even forgot about that.
yeah, so we go on with this show, and the show eventually ends, and Tabitha's like, "Okay, all right, I guess we leave. I don't know. I didn't know any of those people." And she's getting up to leave, and Eve grabs her and is like, "Tabitha, you're not leaving now, are you? There's a special encore just for you." Sits her back down, and Norma comes out in uh whatever happened to Baby Jane outfit. If you've ever seen that movie, it's a movie I used to love growing up.
Hmm.
It's got Betty Davis and Joan Crawford in it. And not Joan Crawford, Betty, wait, which one plays the crazy one? I think it's Joan. No, it's Betty. Plays the crazy one. Baby Jane, this child star who has aged. I mean, she's an old lady. They're both old ladies and they're sisters.
Hmm.
But this particular one, she sings, "I'm sending a letter to Daddy." Listen. Norma came out, sang that song in like the Shirley Temple wig with like
Yep.
a the the biggest baby doll dress you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my God,
Because
it was ridiculous.
Norma, that actress has to be 6 feet tall,
Yeah,
right?
I think
And
so. Yeah.
she had on one of those powder pink frilly baby doll dresses. It was a cute dress. I didn't know they made them that big.
Specially made, I'm
It
sure.
was a custom gown
Yeah.
couture.
Yeah.
She comes out, she sings this song. Tabitha doesn't recognize her at first.
No, but
Then
in the song, there's clues because I wrote more than a skull is one of the lyrics with an axe to grind.
yeah, she made the lyrics to fit what Norma was feeling. Like the first verse was like the regular verse, and then she did a second verse, and it was all very cryptic messages about like, "I'm going to
Mhm.
kill you with my axe, Tabitha." And
Basically.
yeah, at some point, I think Tammy says that person does look vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
eventually, through this whole song and dance, Norma finally kind of reveals herself, pulls out her hatchet, and starts trying to chase Tabitha and Timmy out of the ward. But she's subdued by the hospital staff for a
How does
while.
a patient get a hold of an axe?
A terrible hospital. It's a terrible hospital.
I'm telling you, there's so many things to criticize.
It's a terrible hospital. How did she get that X? Where'd the rats come from? There were rats. She had like rats on that little she had like a tray
Oh, she
with like
did.
rats on it. Because
Okay.
in the movie, Baby Jane serves her sister. I thought it was a bird, but maybe it was a rat. It's been a long time since I saw the movie, but she serves her sister like a dead animal on a tray.
Oh,
And maybe it
okay.
was a rat. I thought it was a bird, but um, yeah. So that was like why that was there, and yeah, she tries to chase Tabitha and Timmy out with that hatchet, but she's subdued by the hospital staff. But honey, you can't keep a good woman down.
No, no. And she's a strong woman.
Yeah, she's so strong. She manages to break free. Meanwhile, Timmy and Tabitha are running through the hospital trying to get away. Timmy like trips at one point, and then Reese and Julian both
Julian.
see him, and
Yeah,
they both at
alive.
the same time are like, "Timmy's alive!" Right? They
Yes.
and then they
I
look at each
didn't
other and they're like, "You knew he was
appreciate.
alive too?" Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say I didn't appreciate Julian calling him an imp.
No. Well, I mean,
It's
it's one of those things that
I
would not.
don't. It just makes me like I don't remember how I felt about it watching it when I was young, but now watching it as an adult, it's like, oh God, like Julian, why are you so offensive?
It's one of
Like,
those
stop.
things that you just that would not play these days. They
No.
wouldn't have written it, but yeah, Julian and Reese, which
Mhm.
y'all, it is Christmas Eve. Now they explain why Julian's at the hospital. He was there for a benefit, a hospital
Yes.
benefit. What is Reese doing at the hospital on Christmas Eve? Everybody else is at church.
Yeah. No. Good. Good. Yeah. No. I don't think they did explain it. I have no idea why he would be there. It was literally just so that they can get Julian and him to see
Yeah.
Timmy.
Yeah. Because it's not like he's there to see one of his parents. His dad works at the bank. I don't know about his mom, but
Yeah.
his dad works at the bank.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're there and they see Timmy alive. They both realize that the two of them are the two people in town who have been believing that he was alive the entire time. And then they
Hmm.
give chase to Timmy, right? They chase after Timmy. And we get the Scooby Doo, like just running back and
Yeah.
forth through doors, open a door, close a
It
door,
was funny
slamming
though.
doors. It was great.
I
I
enjoyed
wasn't
it.
even mad at it. I wasn't even mad
Yeah.
at it because sometimes these types of things annoy me. This week it didn't annoy me because we did get so much real meat this
Yeah.
week
It was
that it
good
was
levity
it was good
in
levity.
between woven into the heaviness of the other
Mm-hmm.
storylines that we're gonna get into.
Absolutely. It really,
Yeah.
I needed it. I really needed it. So yeah, they're running back and forth and doing the Scooby Doo, running from door to door, and so eventually Timmy and Tabitha manage to run outside and are basically cornered by Timmy by Reese
Hmm.
and Julian,
Julian.
but before Norma shows up, right?
They go to hide in a closet where Norma is, and she
That's
even
what it
calls
is.
herself Dr. Death because I wrote that down. I am Dr. Death.
That's what it is. Yeah, she
Yeah.
corners them in that like closet first, and then
Yeah.
there's more chasing. Yes, that's what
And
it
then the
is.
chasing. Yeah. Because, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
and
that's when they're outside, and Tabitha tells him, go into doll mode. And he can't.
yeah, he can't go into doll mode. He realizes
Mm.
because he tried to go into doll mode when Julian and Reese caught him the first time, and he was like,
Yes.
"I think my wish came true. I think I'm a real boy."
Hmm.
Um, and Tabitha is like, "Are you sure?" But she I don't know if she believes it just yet. Again,
Yeah.
there's tons of chasing, but eventually they're all cornered in like in the courtyard in a courtyard. Everybody's in a courtyard. And Norma gets subdued by like some hospital staff. So she's like flat on her face. Then
Hmm.
TC and Eve arrive on the scene as well. And Julian and Reese say, "Look, Timmy's alive. I've been telling you, Timmy's alive." TC and
Yeah.
Eve are both like flabbergasted. They're like, "Yeah, he is alive."
Didn't Eve even check for a heart?
Yeah, she checks it. She's like, "He's got a pulse. He is real flesh.
He's
He's a real
real.
boy."
He's a real boy. Oh
Timmy
my God, that brought tears to my eyes because he got his wish.
Timmy got his Christmas wish. Timmy's a real boy. That's what Timmy says. Not in front of
Yeah.
everybody,
He
but
still talks in third person, but that's okay, Timmy.
I think that was my favorite part of the whole episode was when Timmy said that. That'll probably be the episode title this week. Timmy got his Christmas wish. Timmy's a real
Yeah,
boy.
he's a real boy.
Yeah, so the Tabitha explains that this is not a doll. This is
Mm,
my great nephew, my grandnephew,
yes,
Timmy, and that
which is
I
a great
fashioned.
cover.
Yeah, she
That
says
was
I.
actually really good.
Yeah, she's great. She knows how to come up with a good lie. She really does.
Hmm.
She says I fashioned my Timmy doll after him. Now it does not explain because Eve saw Tabitha with the doll, right?
Hmm.
She saw her with the doll when she came to the hospital, when she sat through the show, when she left the show, she had the doll. Where did this nephew come from? Did somebody just drop him off at the hospital?
Could be. You don't
Right?
know people's
And
business.
also,
She could
where
have
is
put the
your
doll in her
dog?
car. Could be in the
Mm,
car. Could be
okay.
anywhere.
Could be
You know.
anywhere. I'm gonna go with it. But
Yep.
because that was the only hole in this story for me was that Eve had seen her with the doll and walking around with the doll, and that was
Hmm.
alive. But
Yeah. Well, and
um,
also we're 2 years into this show, and that doll looks exactly what your nephew looks like now.
right,
Does your nephew not age?
right. Like, do you make a new doll every 6 months or? Yeah, but listen, everybody's going with it. They apologize to
Yeah.
Tabitha and she's going away and she's like, "Yeah, Timmy, you're a real boy." And she's stunned. She's stunned.
Yeah.
Timmy got his
Yeah. But
Christmas
she's, I think,
wish.
was a little sad because she starts to realize if he's real, she could lose him.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let's finish this up with the kids. Back at the
Okay.
Bennett home. We're back at the
Hmm.
Bennett home after Mass. Everybody went to Christmas Mass, Midnight Mass, and then they went back to the Bennett house to exchange gifts. Ethan included, right? Because he's their, they call him their half brother. He's their brother. I hate
Yeah,
this.
that's your
Our
brother.
half
I know.
brother, whatever. He gives them all like CDs, which, is a decent gift in 2001, especially if
Oh
it's a
my
CD
God.
you
Yeah.
wanted.
That's back then. That was like $34 a CD.
Yeah. So,
That's it. And that was with that kind of like mentality of what money was worth.
yeah.
$34 today is even a lot of money for a CD. Imagine
Mhm.
back then.
Yeah.
You
So,
weren't buying 10, you were buying one
one
CD.
CD. Yeah. So, I remember my CD collection was like my, a treasure chest for me. It was like the most
Mm.
important thing I owned. It
I
was.
still have my CDs.
I still have a lot of my C. I still have a ton of CDs. Yeah, I still do because I think we should. I do think that we should continue keeping and buying physical media. I really
Yes.
do. If it's something you really, really love and really want to always have, get the physical media of it and make sure you have whatever apparatus you need to play it. Like I have a DVD
Yep.
player, you
Yep.
know.
I even recently got myself a vinyl record player because
Mm,
vinyls are coming back.
mm-hmm.
All these artists, and they're cute and I like. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have my
Yeah.
little record player now and some vinyls.
No, I'm a big proponent of like, yeah, get you some physical media if it's something that you really, really like because
Yeah. Can't
streaming
always rely
services,
on these streaming services
no,
because
they
one
come
day
and
it's
they
there, the other
go.
day it's gone.
They come and they go. And there may come a time where you're like, I can't afford this. I'm not paying for this streaming service anymore. And at least you'll have the things that you really, really love. So
Exactly.
that's my spiel. Anyway, let's talk about this gift
Yeah.
exchange.
Oh,
Ethan has given the
I loved
girls,
it.
Ethan has given all the girls, including Charity, a CD. Um,
Hmm.
but actually,
Before that,
I want to
we're
say,
gonna talk about Miguel, right?
yes, Charity and Miguel are standing outside of the church, and Miguel gives Charity her Christmas gift early.
Mhm.
And she's excited. She grabs it, she opens it, she sees it. It's like a necklace, and she's like, "Thanks, thanks."
What
Eh,
was weird to me was then Miguel waiting for his gift, which in a way kind of bothered me because the intention of gift giving is not for an expectation of getting something. So if you give someone something, you shouldn't be like, well, where's my gift? No, you give the intention of giving just because you have the intention of giving, not because you're expecting to receive. So that kind of bothered me about Miguel. Like, but where's my gift? I'm sure you forgot about it. I'm sure you left it at home, or with everything. Like making excuses for us to why she didn't give you a gift. Maybe she just didn't want to buy you a gift, so she didn't have money. Does she work?
that's what she said, and it's the way he said it to her, where he gives her the gift. she's like, thanks. And he says to her, do you like it? And she says, I said thanks, didn't I? And then he says to her, and don't worry about my gift. I'm sure you can give it to me later. Like I'm sure you got me something. She's like, oh, I didn't, Miguel. I don't have any money. That's exactly what she said. She's like, I didn't have any money, so no, I didn't give you a
Yeah,
gift. Yeah, like how would she have gotten him a gift? I guess she probably
yeah,
got him one last year, and so he
she
just
probably did,
expected
and it
she
was
would.
probably paid for by Grace and Sam.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
probably gave them money.
yeah.
Miguel works, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the show, they show him working like at the docks in the summertime.
Yeah.
Are these kids still in school or not? I don't know.
They never show anything. That this show never had a graduation. They got prom, but
Well,
never had a graduation.
and the timing's real fucked up because in these episodes specifically, they talk about how Noah is in his freshman year at college, but we have done two Christmas, at least two Christmases now. I think actually three Christmases now. So how has he been in his freshman year at college? Like, is he just failing? You know what I mean? Like, is he just like a super freshman?
Yeah.
Or and we never see him. Why doesn't he ever come home for Christmas? Um,
Right?
but
But that's all these kids that are haven't been on the show yet. Like, where are Ivy's children?
they well, and we are. You know what? I actually understand why Ivy's kids don't come home. It's obvious she doesn't give a fuck about them, and
Also
we
true.
know Julian and Alistair don't care about them. So it makes sense
Yeah.
that and they're rich. They don't have to come home. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? But Grace
But
and
not
Sam,
once they can scrape money and bring Paloma for the holidays. Not once. Like,
and they just brought Paloma up for the first time like last week. I was excited to hear her
I
name because I was
know.
like,
I
okay,
was
we're
like,
doing this. We're doing this. Paloma, yes. Yeah, no, they can't scrape the money together to get Paloma home. All they can do is call her on the phone.
yay.
But yeah, you would think that Sam and Grace would have Noah come home for Christmas. They have such a warm home life and they
Yeah.
love their kids so much and they're so crazy about family and everything. Why don't you ever see
Yeah.
your son? It's still very
Exactly.
suspicious to me. But see that but again, to go back to what I was saying is
Yeah.
the timeline is off. Are these kids in high school? If Noah is a freshman in college, that means that these kids are still in high school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they are supposed to be younger than like Teresa Whitney
Mm-hmm.
age group too. Which I think this week, I believe Teresa said she was 18.
Did she?
I think so.
Oh, I
Which would
didn't.
at least then make Kay Miguel 17 or younger.
Yeah. And again, Noah has been in his freshman year at college since the beginning of this show, unless he was at a school for wayward boys, like I said to begin with.
Hmm.
And maybe he was at a school for wayward boys and then he went to college. Maybe.
Also true.
That's
Yeah.
that I'm gonna that's like my thinking. But if
Let's not
Noah,
try to dig too much into the reasons why this show does things because
you
they
know
just
what?
do things.
Yes. So let's talk about this
Pretend
gift
believe.
exchange. These children, I don't think they work. I think they're supposed to go to school, but I think they're all truant. So they, they
I mean, Charity's a nice, so she's not getting her homework done.
certainly not. Certainly not. She certainly is not getting her homework done. None of them are getting any homework done. The only person who is probably doing their homework is Reese, geek boy.
Reese, Jessica, who's never on screen, and maybe Simone when she's not talking about chat.
Simone's probably getting her work done for right now, but I think in a
Yeah.
moment she won't be. So they all head back after mass. They head back to the Bennett home for their gift exchange. Ethan comes. He gives out CDs to the girls. The Jessica and Kay seem perfectly thrilled. They all pitch in to give him a briefcase, a really nice briefcase, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Wow, this is so expensive. This is so nice." And they're like, "We just thought it would help you make look more professional." And he was
Hmm.
really touched by the gift. It was a really lovely gift. Charity makes like a snide remark under her breath about like, yeah, that briefcase. Look at what we got. These little CDs. We gave you a leather briefcase. Everybody notices that Charity is acting very like nastily and that she's being very just bratty. She's very bratty. And so then Miguel kind of pulls her to the side and asks her, like, what is going on with you? Why are you being so ungrateful about the CD? You know that Ethan doesn't have any money. Like, you should be grateful that he even got you anything. And
Yeah.
she's like, exactly. That's exactly my point. When I came into this family, I had nothing. I don't remember much about my life with my mom, but I know that we had to budget for everything and I never could have the things that I wanted. And finally, I found out I had a cousin who was a crane, but then he turned out not to be a crane. I thought I was going to finally get the things that I wanted. It doesn't make any sense, girl. The way
No.
you found out that he was your cousin is by finding out he wasn't a crane.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, so, and he got thrown out without a dime, and we didn't get anything. And I thought that I would finally get something. What? Why would you think that? That man doesn't even know you. You're not even related to him. Let's be clear.
No,
Y'all are not even
no,
blood relatives.
nope.
He,
Because
no.
that's on Grace's side of the family.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. They're not
Um,
even blood relatives. Though, had they saved the money on not decorating Tabitha's house, maybe they would have had more money so that they can actually get better gifts.
maybe, maybe they did
There's
spend a
money
lot
for
of money.
that, not for gifts.
Everybody's getting CDs.
Everybody goes to.
But to be fair,
But it was
Ethan's
like,
the one that gave out the
and
CDs.
yeah, Ethan, and I have to give him credit. He actually even thought about them to get them
Yeah.
something. Like he is
Yeah.
trying to bond and build a bridge with his half siblings, which yeah, that's annoying when you're constantly saying half. I have a half brother. I don't call him my half brother.
Mm-mm.
He's just my brother.
Yeah. And even Miguel makes a comment to Charity about like, don't you love this band? And she's like, yeah, I do, but that's not the point. So it's not even that Ethan just bought them random CDs like books on tape. He gave them things that CDs of musicians that they like. The other girls were really happy about the CDs they got. So
Mm-hmm.
but of course, Zombie Charity is playing into Kay's plan, right? She's
Exactly.
supposed to be acting this way because it's going to make Miguel think less of her, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts talking about how she just wants someone to give her everything she wants, and she wants somebody who can give her all the things that she's always wanted, which we know Miguel can't necessarily do. He's not a rich man, and he doesn't come from rich
Yeah.
people. So we kind of see his face kind of drop, and he has this moment. We don't hear it explicitly, but you can see it on his face that he's like, well, that doesn't describe me. And so she kind of apologizes. She says, I'm sorry, I'm just tired. It's a fine CD. And she just kind of like stomps off. And that's like where we ended with them this week. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, no. My last comment was Zombie Charity. Another CD. Thanks, Ethan.
Another CD. Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks, Ethan.
Oh my god. Zombie Charity's killing it. She really is. She really is. So with that, let's keep with these Bennetts. Let's keep talking about Sam and Grace and talk about
Yeah.
Ivy because honey, y'all, Ivy has sunk to a new low. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love Ivy Crane. I really do as a character, but
Mhm.
I do not agree with the things that her
Oh
I
no,
don't
I don't agree with probably 90% of the people on this show, but they make good television.
they make great television, but she is deeply, deeply disturbed.
Yeah,
She really is
yeah.
so disturbed. Okay, so
She's
let's
just passionate about her mission of getting Shan back.
she's just so passionate about love, everybody. And
Yeah,
how can you be against true love, even if it means devastating and ruining
yeah.
all the
It's
people
called
around you?
not moving on with your life. Okay, you got to move on.
She needs therapy. Ivy needs therapy,
They all
100%.
need therapy.
Oh yeah, they do all need therapy. But Ivy, she's so maladjusted. She
A
really
little
is.
bit.
She's
Well,
like,
she's entitled and it comes with the sense of her entitlement. She's the governor's daughter and she got everything she ever wanted. She messed around with a local boy that she fell in love with that the parents didn't approve of. And then
mm-hmm,
she ended up marrying Julian so that she can still, and now living as a crane made her even more entitled to everything.
yeah,
Because I do love the banter between her and Rebecca. That is
yeah,
gold.
yeah. Oh
It
yeah,
was gold.
it's fantastic. So Let's talk about these people,
Yep.
Grace and Sam and everything. So Grace and Sam are having a conversation about the annulment papers and how Sam wants to get this annulment done and over with as soon as possible, quickly as possible. Grace kind of is like, well, it's so close to Christmas. Shouldn't we wait till after Christmas to give him the
No.
papers?
No.
Yeah, no, no,
No.
no.
Why?
Here's an annulment. Merry
Why?
Christmas.
Why are you giving Sam doubts about you wanting to not be with David?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you giving this man any kind of excuse to be around him? What's
I
wrong with
don't
you,
know.
Ray?
I have no answers. Normally I feel like I have at least a little bit of something to kind of, but I don't understand this at all. And Sam doesn't either. So he says to her, "No, I think we should get this over with as quickly as possible." Yeah, like wouldn't it be nice to get it done before Christmas? So you can have
Mm-hmm.
that monkey off your back during the holidays? You know, the
Yeah,
holidays are stressful enough without having to think about your long lost husband and getting an annulment. And so,
exactly. And you made your choice. You're gonna stay with Sam. So
exactly.
what's the problem? And I thought, like, you're also excited about marrying Sam, being that realize that your marriage isn't legal because you're married to David. Then you should be like, let's hurry up with this divorce so I can actually get married to
And they
Sam.
talk about like how beautiful their wedding is going to be. They're going to have the biggest wedding this town's ever seen, and yeah,
Mm,
so yeah, you should be excited to get through this and get on with the wedding. Um,
yeah.
so David comes over to the house and they give him the annulment papers. I can't remember exactly what he came over for because when he gets there, Sam's like, "Actually, I'm glad you're here. We have something for you." And they give him the annulment papers. And at one, I think it's when Sam goes to get the papers. David tells Grace, "You're making a huge mistake, annulling our marriage. You still love me. You still love me, Grace." And she says, "No, David, you're wrong. I don't love you." And then Sam comes back, insists that David sign the papers so that they can all get on with their lives, gives him the papers, and then David says, "Well, I'm not signing anything until I read it." Fair enough. Fair
Uh,
enough.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
signing anything until I read it. And Sam's accused him of stalling for time. He's like, you, yeah, right. Just sign the papers. It's basic annulment papers. I don't fucking know that. I don't know that.
exactly. But
You,
like, he's accusing David of stalling. What about Grace?
mm-hmm. And let me be clear. Sam is a crooked cop. I like Sam. I love Sam. He is a corrupt cop. I'm not signing
Yep.
shit you put in front of me under duress. Not a
Yes.
chance.
Yes.
I will ain't no telling what you're trying to set me up for. I will, yes, I will read this. Now, if I were Sam, I would say, okay, he's not gonna sign it until he reads it. And I would say, okay, sit your ass down right here and read that shit. And then sign the papers. Like,
Yeah.
sure, we got time today. Sit down and read it. But that's not what he does. He Grace tells him to take the papers and just drop them back over later.
Yeah.
Sam is
And she
upset by
comes up with
this.
the idea to stall by asking for a notary.
No, no, no. Ivy came up with that idea.
That's what I say. Ivy gave him,
Oh, I thought you
an
said and.
excuse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ivy later on, Ivy gives him the excuse. Because let's be clear, David at this point does not want to do this anymore.
No.
Um,
And he is getting feelings for Grace.
Mm-hmm. He's growing feelings for Grace. He keeps telling Ivy that Grace doesn't deserve this. She's the nicest, most caring, most loving person in the world. I've never met someone so genuinely good. And
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't deserve what you're doing to her. You're a horrible, horrible bitch.
And I think
And
he actually calls her a bitch.
he does. Oh yeah, I think he calls her a bitch a
Yeah.
couple of times this week.
Yeah.
Um
Kind of
and
well deserved because she is being a bitch.
yeah, but he takes the annulment papers. He meets up with Ivy. She tells him she's ready to enact the next step of her plan.
Yes.
And David tells Ivy that Grace is a good person and that her marriage is the kind that people dream about. And Ivy says, "Well, Sam still loves me." And David says, the only person in Sam's heart is Grace. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think Sam is very good at pretending that Grace is the only person in. I think here's what I think. I think that Sam loves Grace and is in love with Grace, loves his life with Grace. I think he
Mm-hmm.
still has a lot of love in his heart for Ivy, but that he has
Yeah.
firmly chosen Grace.
Yes.
And
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 has
that's
moved on.
and that
You know,
is
because
an act of
sometimes you
love.
could still hold love for people that you were in relationships for. You're not going to always just fall out of love. You can still have feelings for them.
Mhm.
But he clearly like wants a life with Grace. It's not like he doesn't love Grace. He loves Grace. He
To
has
me,
children with Grace.
he has a whole life with Grace. To me, the act of choosing someone every day is is more important, and truly choosing that person, choosing your life with them, choosing to be there for them through thick and thin, ups and downs, means more than having this love in your heart for another person, right? Like, you are showing to me. I learned this in church a long time ago, but it has stuck with me, and I still believe in this, that love is an action word.
Mm-hmm.
Love is a verb. So you love someone by showing them, by doing, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Sam does with Grace. We're not seeing that with him, between him and Ivy, right? And the things that Ivy's doing to get Sam, that's not love, that's obsession.
No, that is.
That's obsession. So I I do think that Sam still has love for Ivy, but I think Sam, without all of these manipulations, he would choose Grace 1,000 times, a million
Mm-hmm.
times. He would choose Grace every single
Yeah.
time. Look at all this shit you having to do to get him. Is it worth it? Is it worth it, really, Ivy? I don't think so.
I mean, she doesn't have much else going on
But she
except for
could
trying to keep Ethan and Theresa apart.
but she could have something else going on. She could have so much going on if she would just leave Sam the fuck alone. She would not be in that wheelchair if she would have just left Sam alone.
Yeah.
But Ivy's not doing
She
that.
is in
Ivy
a
will never leave
horrible,
Sam alone.
she is in a miserable marriage, and this
Not
is sort of her
anymore.
distraction.
Not anymore. She,
Though she is holding on to being Mrs. Julian Crane.
oh, I
And this is
am
her
Mrs.
house,
Crane. This is still my house. I love
my house.
I
Oh.
love she's just dripping with venom. Oh god, she's so
Mm.
good. Okay, so Ivy meets up with David. She's got a new plan. She explains uh that it's going to happen tonight. What her surprise for Sam and Grace are coming is
Mm-hmm.
coming tonight.
Because she hasn't
Um
told David what the surprise is.
and she hasn't
Because
told
it's
him
a
yet.
surprise to David, too.
Yeah, he doesn't know. And she tells him to put off the annulment by saying he wants to sign the papers in front of a notary. Also fair enough.
Also fair.
I would imagine that annulment papers and things like that do need to be notarized,
Yeah,
right?
I'm assuming so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I'll go along with I'll go along with it, I guess. But David starts like singing Grace's praises, saying that she's just the greatest, basically the greatest thing since sliced bread. She's got such a good heart. She's the most sincerely good person I've ever known. And Ivy goes, "Dear God, I don't believe it. You have fallen in love with Grace."
Mm-hmm.
Ivy starts to laugh and says, "Well, this is wonderful. Sam will be with me, and poor little Gracie will be all alone. Who better for her to spend the rest of her life with than the man she thought was her husband?"
Yeah.
Um, and then she talks about him being too hard-hearted to fall in love, and he says, "All I'm saying is she's a good person, and she doesn't deserve this, especially at Christmas. It's
Yeah.
Christmas,
It's
Ivy. Have a
Christmas,
fucking heart.
everyone.
Have a heart, Ivy." And then but she says, "Well, a mother is most vulnerable at the holidays." This bitch.
Mm.
Oh
Mm.
God. And then she says, "What about me?" What about me? What
True
about
narcissist.
what I need? What about me? She says, what about me? Do you know how many Christmases I've been forced to spend without Sam? How much more I am expected, how much more am I expected to suffer? Do you know what it's like for me in my own home? And then she talks about how Rebecca and Teresa are these conniving witches, just like
Oh no, wait.
Grace.
Hold, because I wrote the comment.
Yes, do
She
it.
called Rebecca an oversexed, top-heavy tramp. Rebecca, and she's not wrong with any of those comments.
She's not oversexed, top heavy tramp. And it's true. And she's like, and she's trying to put me out of my house. And then Teresa's trying to, she's a conniving little bitch, just like Grace. Girl, where is this coming from? What evidence do you have? I mean, with saying these things about Rebecca and Teresa, fine. She's got some kind of evidence to go on. She's got like beef with both of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Grace? What have you seen from Grace
She just
besides
hates
that
Grace.
vile tomato soup cake?
Yeah, she just hates Grace because she's with Sam.
Yeah,
Just like how Teresa hated Gwen only because she was with Ethan. Because Gwen never did anything to her in the beginning. She just hated her because she was with Ethan and she thought she was better for Ethan than Gwen.
you go ahead.
Same with Ivy.
You go ahead and advocate for your girl. You do that.
That's right. That's right. Wait till we. I'm telling you, I'll be
You
putting a
said
tarot. We're about to.
Maria said if there's no Gwen in these episodes, I'm gonna bring Gwen into. I'll
I'm
find
gonna
a
bring
way.
her up. And
I
you
will.
know what, fans? If you love this podcast, join the Patreon. I am on Discord. We can have discussions if you like.
Yep, we can
You
talk
know,
about it. We can
we could
talk
talk
about it.
about it. If you
Um.
disagree, and I know many do, but we could talk about it
Yeah.
because
Well,
I
we were
bring
on
this.
the last watch party we had. You and one of the other
Oh,
patrons, Fantasia, were going back and forth. I was
we
loving it.
were.
Honestly,
It
I was
was.
just like, oh my gosh, Fantasia, I love her. I told her I was like, you just want to fight. She's
Yeah,
just looking
yeah,
for a fight, and I love it.
yeah.
I love us arguing about this like 25-year-old crazy
I
show.
know. I know.
But
And what's funny,
anyway,
we're both right, and
yeah,
I'll admit
yeah.
it.
I think
Because both characters are flawed and both characters have reasons and both like they did the show correct with at least that storyline. They gave a little bit to everyone to stand on their high horse to talk about the other.
and I think they did such a good job with a lot of the characters in general where you find the character that you are get attached to, right? You
Mm-hmm.
find something relatable in them or just something maybe even admirable. Like one of the things I love about Teresa is that she is so incredibly just like shameless and tenacious, right? And I don't necessarily have that in me, but sometimes I wish I did because I do think I would get a lot more accomplished if if I could just have that level of shamelessness,
Mm-hmm.
and delusion, that level of delusion.
Oh, good. Yeah,
But and
yeah,
so so yeah, you gravitate to specific characters and then you want to like and then you like latch onto them and you're like,
yeah.
I'm gonna rationalize every single one of their every single one of their poor choices. Regardless, I'm
Exactly.
riding with you, girl. I want because you
Yeah.
just want your character to get what they want. I just want you to get what you want. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I want this, you
Yeah.
know what it is? It's like I want the turmoil to end. Like I enjoy the ride, but I also want the turmoil to end, even though it's never gonna end.
No,
Um,
it's yeah. If anyone hasn't been watching, hasn't actually seen the show, the Teresa Ethan storyline, till the last episode.
yeah, the very
Till
last episode.
but that ride, I mean, wait till we get to the real craziness.
Well,
Like it
we're starting it
started
up.
with the Bermuda and it just oh my god.
Yeah, there's so much baby stuff. There's so much
Oh
baby stuff,
yeah.
and all of it's heavy.
Oh
All of it's heavy. Like you think this abortion stuff is rough, it just gets worse.
yeah. Yeah.
But
But
anyway,
anyway,
yeah, let's
let's get
finish.
there.
Let's finish these two. Sam, Grace. Okay, they argue back and forth about like why Ivy argues her position of why Sam belongs to her and that he would be much happier. And she said, I do want to make this comment. She makes a comment about Grace's tomato soup cake. She
Mm-hmm.
says Grace is like her tomato soup cake. After she says first of all, it's got to be toxic, just like Grace. Under all that sugar and spice, she's a viper.
Oh
Okay.
my god.
Delusion. It's
Did we get
delusion.
to the part where Grace shows up with her gift? Have we gotten there yet?
Well, Ivy showed
And
we're about
she
to go.
made,
Ivy goes to their house to give them a gift. So that's what we're about to do
yes,
now.
that's what I was talking
So
about. Okay.
Ivy tells David in this little rendezvous, she tells him, you and I can't be seen together. We need to be very careful because right now nobody
Yeah.
can connect the two of us together. But if people start seeing us together, then they'll get suspicious. The very next scene is the two of them showing up to the Bennett home at the exact same time. And Ivy's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I came to like do what you told me to do about these annulment
Hmm.
papers. And
Yeah.
so Sam and Grace come outside. Grace invites them in because Ivy comes in, says
Brought a
that
gift.
she brought a gift for them, and David tells them that he's there to get the that he wants this is what it was. He wants to get the paper signed with a notary, which Sam actually likes this idea. He's like, "Great, I'll actually go get one on the phone right now." Y'all, he
Hmm.
could the chief of police in this town could not find a notary. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I guess it is Christmas Eve, but still, but still.
Yeah.
Oh, he he goes inside to find call for a notary and whatever.
Hmm.
Grace decides to invite both of them inside because it's Christmas after all. It is
It's Christmas.
Christmas
But
after
before we
all.
go inside, I did want to make a note, and it's a small little thing that I noticed. At one point, they're talking, it's daylight. Literally, the next scene, it's nighttime.
Really?
How'd that happen?
That because all of a
Like, I
sudden
love how Passion just like, they were all outside, and literally, like, one scene to the next, it's already dark. I'm like, okay. So that's what it's nighttime now. We're moving the day along.
they don't care because um they needed the day to pass so that Grace could invite David and Ivy to midnight mass. Like
Yeah,
that, like they because the mass is at midnight. So they had to get it
exactly.
to be nighttime
Yeah.
all of a sudden. Yeah.
And
So
Passion loves to do that. I remember there was a scene last year where like Theresa was in the foyer, and then the next scene she's walking into the main room and all the Christmas decorations are up. I'm like,
oh
wait,
yeah. Oh yeah.
be really good to be able to get the decorations up between Teresa walking from foyer into the living room.
I remember that. I remember that we didn't even have any inclination that it was actually Christmas yet. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's Christmas. There's wreaths, there's lights, there's everything. I remember that. Also, when uh Sheridan and Luis were like out on that boat, it was daytime and then all of a sudden it was pitch black. Yeah,
Pitch
they
black.
have no problems doing that. No qualms about it. They
No, no, we're
they
just gonna
will
move things along.
move the time to push along their own narrative. So
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Ivy comes in with her gift, and her gift is something called a floating island. I've never heard
What
of
is
this.
that? I wrote it down. I'm like, what? And I was gonna Google it, and I
I,
totally forgot to Google it.
same. I was gonna look it up, and I forgot what it was. And I feel like I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, yeah. You can
Floating.
cut out. You can cut out the looking up part.
It's a dessert. Floating island consisting of meringue floating on creme anglaise. I don't. Okay, fine. It's some kind of French dessert made out of meringue.
Oh,
Okay, well,
okay.
it's a floating island, and she says it'll go bad if they don't eat it immediately. And then she makes like a little quip about like just like your marriage is about to go bad. So they have this. Then they decide to all go to midnight mass, and Ivy says that she's gonna have her surprise arrive
Surprise.
at mass.
Mm-hmm.
And so after mass, everybody goes to mass. It's ridiculous. After mass, David goes outside to like get some air and he sees what Ivy's surprise is. He comes back to her and says, I saw your surprise outside, Ivy, and you are a horrible, loathsome bitch. And he says, using me is one thing, but I will not go along with this. It was not a part of our deal. He's not a part of our deal. And then
Mm-hmm.
Ivy threatens to expose whatever it is that David has going on. I don't know
I
what
still
it is.
don't remember what it was. I don't
Um,
remember.
Whatever it is, it cannot be that bad for you to let her exploit your son. Because, by the way, y'all, spoiler alert, we're about to get into it. Turns out
Mm-hmm.
that this surprise is David's son, John, who is a
Real son,
sophomore
not
in
the one
college.
pretending to be his son,
No,
his actual son.
his actual son. And so he sees his son finally, and his son is none the wiser because it turns out that Ivy sent a note or a letter to John or a message to John as David. So John believes that his father has invited him to Harmony. And
Mm-hmm.
so he sees his dad and he's like, "Hey dad, been a long time. When'd you get back in the country? Didn't even know you were back. I'm so glad to see you, dad." And then David's like, "Oh yeah, hey son, how about you go get us some coffees from that cart over there?" And then he finds
Mm-hmm.
Ivy again, and he starts like yelling at her and says, he just tells her off, saying, "I will not let you play with my son's heart. I won't let you play with my son's heart. He will not be a part of this." Grace and Sam like hear this commotion, but they don't hear the words or who's talking, I guess. And by the time they get
Mm-hmm.
around there, David and John are talking to each other again, and Sam's like,
Yeah.
"What's going on here? I'm the chief of police. Is this young guy bothering you, David?" It's like, do you care if somebody's bothering David?
That totally confused me because I'm like, why would you care if someone's first of all, they're just having a conversation. They weren't arguing. So like David can't talk to someone?
I don't
That made no sense. Yo, Sam, back off.
back
Back
off,
off.
bro. So, um, then John just introduces himself. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'm John. I'm David's son. I'm his son." And they're all like, "Son? His son?" And
Wheels start to turn and
John says,
with
"Yeah,
Grace and
who asked his dad, who are these people?" And he said, David says, "Well, this is Grace. Grace is my wife." And then John looks at her and says, "Grace? Mother?" Oh, he looks at her and calls her mother. I don't know. I'm so confused by this. I'm so confused by this. Like, did John, because I don't remember this. I remember that John shows up and he's supposedly supposed to be Grace's son, but we know he really isn't.
Mhm. Mhm.
But did John grow up not knowing his mother, and like, did David really have a wife named Grace?
No, I don't think he recognized the name. It was just that he called the woman Grace and he's like Grace as in like, oh shoot. And then he questions mom.
Yeah. I guess we'll get more
So
answers
I
about this
yeah,
eventually.
I think we're being led to believe at this point of the storyline, he raised his child as a single dad. But the fact that they never talked about like who his mom is at
Yeah.
all, like gave no clues.
I am interested to see where this goes and how they explain John not knowing anything about his mother. Like,
Mhm.
and how he was raised and all of that. I'm
I
very
mean, he
interested to
like the mom, because like I don't remember like what actually did happen to his real mom.
mm-mm.
Um, but she could have been out of the picture when he was like a baby. So
Right, right. And it's like, did she die? Well, it seems that John is not surprised. Like, it seems that John knows that his mother is alive somewhere. Otherwise, he wouldn't have called her mother. You see what I'm saying? Like, if David had told John, "Yeah,
oh
your
yeah,
mom's dead. Your mom died when you were young," he wouldn't have any reason to believe that Grace is his mom. You know what I mean? But maybe
yeah,
because David said, "This is my wife." You know what? We're gonna have to wait. Tune in next
we're
week.
gonna. But we definitely do know that at some point Sam is gonna question, why are we just finding about this right now?
Yes, I and great, which is a great question. Why wouldn't you have brought up your son well before now? But I already know they're gonna play it off like, well, it was already such a shock for her to find out that she had a husband. Like, how would she feel if she found out she had a son? And I wanted her to come back to me because she wanted to come back to me, not because we had a son together. I bet you that's exactly what he's gonna say.
Of course, and they're gonna buy it. Though I would at least argue that if you already see that she don't want to be with you to the point that she's giving you annulment paper, he could at least go like, by the way,
Wouldn't
we
you
have a
bring that up
child
at some
together.
point? And you know how much she loves her family and kids and
Yeah.
shit. You would think that she would
And
want to know her
again, they
kids.
were already having this conversation about like, well, he had a son with Ivy first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're assuming that she has a son with David first
Yeah.
before Noah. Poor Noah.
Poor Noah.
He
Poor
gets
Noah.
no credit for being the second child. No
He
credit at all.
no. He's no one's oldest son.
No.
He's no one's oldest son. Okay.
That's why he doesn't come back to Harmony.
Yeah. He hates it there.
And
You know what?
and if Grace is so bold to tell her niece, I wish my daughter was more like you and I like you more. Could you imagine what she might have been telling Noah? Why aren't you more like Ethan?
I can't. That made me so upset for Kay. Grace. I forgot
Same.
about that for a minute. All right.
She ain't mother of the year, I'm telling you.
Certainly not. Even though she thinks she is. So
The whole
with that,
town does.
yeah, everybody thinks she's Saint Grace. It's crazy. All right. With that, let's
All right.
move on to Sheridan and Louise. Honestly,
All
this
righty.
week is not Sheridan and Louise heavy. This
Nope.
storyline is really more about Antonio, the prodigal son, coming home, right? So let's just run through it. And there's not a whole lot that happens here. Brian and Diana finally make their way to Harmony, and dock Beth's boat. And Brian talks to Diana about Christmas as a kid and how, oh my God, now this was ridiculous. He tells her, yeah, my mother, she would always talk about this little girl. There was this little girl who lived at the
Oh,
mansion, and my mother was like a second mother to her, classic poor little rich girl. And he basically tells Diana or Sheridan the story of her very own childhood, which
yes.
sparks no memories whatsoever.
None at all. But what makes it ridiculous, there was a point where he talks about how him and his brother would fight over the girl because they found hair
in
Pilar's cloak. You fell in love with hair? What the actual fuck?
What the actual fuck? It was crazy. He tells her whole story, like her own life story sparks no memories in her, even though just seeing a rose bush gave her like crazy memories. And just the word harmony. The word harmony brings all kinds of things up in her, but he tells her own life fucking story, and she's like, that's a pretty sad story. Girl, what? And so, he talks about he's like, I had such a crush on that little girl. Huh?
But he never saw her.
I had such a little crush on that girl, and so did my brother. Unfortunately, so did my brother. And my mother would come home and there would be strands of her hair on her coat, and you wouldn't believe it. It was the color of gold. And yeah, Diana's like, so you fell in, like you said, so you fell in love with her hair. I think that's exactly what she said.
It's ridiculous.
It's so
Passion,
ridiculous.
come on.
It's so ridiculous. So they get to the wharf, and Diana says, I just have the feeling that someone's waiting for me in Harmony. And she says she feels a connection to this wharf, saying, I knew it. I've been here before. Because she starts having these memories. And Brian, being the fucking killjoy that he is, tells her there's 1,000 wharfs that look just like this one up and down the eastern seaboard. Don't get your hopes up. This looks just like every other wharf. I hate him. I just don't like him. I just simply do not like him. And so Diana hears the church bells signaling that midnight mass is about to start. And so she's like, oh, it's time for midnight mass. Let's go to church. We should go. And Brian is reluctant to go, but he ultimately agrees because he knows that his mom and his family go to midnight mass every year. And I guess there's only one church in this town. I guess.
Yeah, it's a small town.
There's only Catholics in Harmony.
Yeah, and can I point out, since we're still on the wharf, when she finds the engraving for Louise and Sheridan, could we remember that Luis is a cop and you're destroying property.
Vandalism.
What?
They're crooked.
What?
We've already established they're crooked. These cops are crooked.
You are
they have
damaging property, and you're supposed to be a cop. And he was a cop. This isn't like when they were young. No, he was a legit cop at that point.
They have no respect for the law. They have no respect for the
or
law
property.
Like what's his name? Luis has committed like attempted murder multiple times at this point. And Sam has watched him do it. And Sam has watched TC also commit attempted murder. Nobody ever gets there's never any consequences for these cops ever. So yeah, what's a little vandalism compared to
true. I'm complaining about the little things.
No,
but it's
I'm with you.
It's like, what are you doing?
I'm with you. I'm with you all the way.
Yeah.
He destroyed public property and has no respect for the law. Because he is the police.
He is the police.
Diana wants to go to church, midnight mass. There's a lot of like nonsense around Sheridan and Luis, and they keep missing each other. It's all very annoying. There's a thing about the tree. It's not important. It's a big nothing burger because nothing happened.
Nothing. The flashbacks are interesting because there was the flashback of the dad giving them like the pork chops, and it was funny because I wrote 2 for Theresa, 2 for Luis, and only 1 for Antonio. But I'm like, do Pilar and Miguel not get any food? Are we just gonna starve those children?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Paloma was probably a baby, so she's drinking milk, but like Miguel probably eats solids at that point.
Some solid foods, and I think it was tamales because they talked about how those were his favorites, and they would eat them at Christmas. But yeah, and so tamales are like, you can give those to babies. They're chewy, mushy.
It was just so funny. It's like poor Miguel.
Poor Miguel.
Child.
Poor Miguel.
Pilar never remembers that, that's her son unless he's in danger and about to die.
Oh my God. And she lets him just run amok. She lets all her kids run amok. And that's why.
That's also true.
And that's partially why Theresa's in the position Theresa's in.
Yeah. But she's at least in scenes with Theresa all the time. We never see her really talking to Miguel about his relationships. Like, I don't really have distinct memory of Pilar talking to Charity.
That's true.
Being Miguel's girlfriend. Like, this is his girlfriend. You're not having conversations with her?
Yeah, that's true. She has double standards. We know this. She has double standards for men and women, which is par for the course for religious people, right? So
that's also true. And she is Hispanic, and I am Hispanic, so I get the culture.
So there's layers to it there, and it's like legitimate, Yeah, they actually wrote that kind of correct, I guess. So they finally decide to go to church. Meanwhile, Luis decides to go to mass, hoping for a Christmas miracle like the one he got last year. Remember when Sheridan came back from the dead?
Yeah, that was sweet.
I loved that last year, but we will be getting no such thing this year. Diana and Brian, they both arrive to the church. They go in. Sheridan walks into like the vestibule. Luis is sitting there or on his knees, like praying for a miracle. He says he feels Sheridan's closeness. He feels her there, but then she walks back out of the church because Antonio did not follow her in because he doesn't want to go inside because he's worried that his family will see him there. He doesn't tell her that, right? He just kind of skirts the issue. Then she starts begging him to go inside. She says, "I want to say a prayer that I'll find my family and get my memory back." So then he reluctantly, again, agrees to go in. And he's saying, well, mass is probably over by now, so everyone will be gone. And so they go in and quickly, and then they come back out, and they miss Luis and Pilar entirely, which Luis and Pilar are still there. Everybody's kind of still there. The way they did this to me was very sloppy, but it doesn't matter because what matters is nobody saw anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody went to church.
Into each other.
Nobody ran into each other.
He did call, didn't he? At one point, Antonio. Oh no, you talked about that last week, and he threw the phone in the water.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
when
yeah,
there
yeah,
was a
yeah,
phone
yeah.
call.
That's why
Yeah,
that's
never
why
mind.
Pilar thought that he would show up for Christmas, right?
Yes, yes.
So back at the house, after mass, Pilar and Luis talk about how they were hoping for Christmas miracles, but nothing, it didn't happen. But something, it still could. It's not
Mm-hmm.
too late. Antonio shows up to the house after having gone his separate ways from Diana. He says to her, "You can make your way back to the boat, right? Or back to the
Mm-hmm.
dock, right?" Which, where are people going to stay in this town? Because the boat is staying in Harmony. So why would
Yeah,
she go back to the dock? Are y'all gonna stay on the boat while you're in Harmony, or are you gonna get a room,
yeah.
or
Grace has a B&B. Y'all can go
right?
stay there.
And it's freezing cold, so he tells her, and she has amnesia. She's
Yeah.
amnesiac, who doesn't know anything really. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Yeah, you can make your way back by yourself, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." He looks at the gift that Diana had given him to give his mom, and it's
I
a
want to talk about
necklace.
that.
It's a necklace of the Our Lady of Guadalupe,
Mm-hmm. No,
and
no.
Brian.
But let's back up a bit. Who are you to open up a gift that's not to you?
Well, and
That
here's the
gift was
thing.
for your mother.
That's what
Why
I
are you
said.
opening it?
Well, here's what happened. Diana says to him, "Maybe you should open it to make sure it's appropriate," and he refuses to do so.
Oh, I
he
didn't catch it
he
saying that.
he
Never mind
tells
that.
her I'm sure it's fine, but as soon as she leaves, he opens it.
Yeah.
I hate him. I really hate him. I hate him, and he doesn't like her. Because
No,
why would
he's
you do
obsessed with
that?
her.
Why would you do
Maybe he
that?
saw her hair like on the ground and fell in love with the hair.
I'm in love with your hair and nothing
I'm in
else.
love with your hair.
I'm in love with your hair, and that's all.
That's
Save
it.
it off and
Yeah.
put
He's
it in
like,
a
oh my
bag, and
God,
I'll be happy.
Don't let Louis see the hair. He's
Oh
gonna
my
know
gosh.
immediately this is Sheridan's hair. I could recognize it
Oh,
anywhere.
he would. Oh my God, Luis would absolutely recognize Sheridan's hair for sure, for sure. But yeah. It's he opens it up. It's the Our Lady of Guadalupe, and he's like, "How could she know? It's perfect." And then he heads over to Pilar's house and lets himself in.
Mm.
He lets himself in while Pilar's sleeping.
No one locks doors in Harmony. It's a really
No,
safe
he
town.
he found the spare key.
That's
There's a
right.
key under
He
a
found
rock, and
Smurfy.
he's
Yes,
like, he finds the key, and he's like, "Some things never change." And then he
that's right.
lets himself into the house
Mm-hmm.
without calling, unexpected. Listen, I came to visit my mom, like, and I'm surprising her, and I have a key to her house. I knocked on the damn door because she didn't know I was coming, and I didn't want to get
Yeah.
shot. I did not want to get
Thank
shot.
you. Thank you. Because guess what? Luis is a cop. There's gonna be a gun in the house.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, this lady is the Georgia. She can stand her ground. I am not getting shot. Knock, knock, knock.
Exactly.
So, but
Exactly.
Antonio does not have those same kinds of worries. And it's after midnight. Like, it's the middle of the night. It's like 1
Yeah.
a.m., 2 a.m. He
Mm-hmm.
lets himself into their home, walks around, goes into her bedroom, and just like watches her sleep.
That was creepy. That was so creepy.
He's a weirdo, and I don't like him. And I'm
Oh,
sorry Pilar has these terrible children.
that was so bad. That was so bad.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. So that's pretty much it for Shawise. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all.
Yeah.
We can power. It's time to power through Theresa and Ethan and all of the
Oh,
abortion
here we
stuff.
go.
Again, just like last week, just like, content warning, trigger warning. It's not as bad as it has been the last few weeks. But it is still a very heavy subject matter, and it's still a lot of like heavy-handed religious iconography, heavy-handed like moral arguments against abortion. So,
Yeah.
if you don't want to listen to that and you don't want to, whatever, turn it off. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We start this week at the mansion where Ivy is ready to blow Theresa out of the water because remember, she has hired that maid from Bermuda, Sheila,
Yes.
who remembers seeing Theresa in bed with Julian. And so
Yes.
Pilar takes Theresa out, catches Theresa outside before she makes it inside the mansion to warn her Ivy knows everything. Ivy knows,
Yeah.
and she has a witness. So
Mm-hmm.
while Pilar's outside having this conversation with Teresa, Ivy introduces Ethan to Sheila, and then beckons Teresa and Pilar inside. And then she introduces Teresa to Sheila in front of everyone. Ethan's confused because Ethan is always confused. And he
Always.
and he asks his mother, Mama, what's going on?" And she says,
Why did you
"Oh,
call for us to come over here?
she's like, "Oh, I just thought that you might remember Sheila from the Crane Resort. You remember the Crane Resort. You remember when you were down there looking for Teresa and you couldn't find her." And this is when Rebecca comes in and kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in the whole thing. What happens when Rebecca gives Pilar the chance to kind of think about what she's gonna do, I think. Because
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca comes in, she's fuming and announces, "I am Mrs. Crane now." And she's mad because she had planned to have the house decorated the way she wanted it decorated for Christmas, but she found all of her decorations out in the garbage heap.
Yeah.
And one of the staff told her, "Mrs. Crane told us to throw it all away." And she's like, "I am Mrs. Crane." So when she comes into the house, she's fuming. She announces to everyone that she and Julian got married. And Ivy pushes back, saying, "I am still Mrs. Crane, and this is still my house." And we think that these two are going to it's going to start going off the rails, and Ivy's going to go off on this thing. But she says, "Nope. She's like, I gotta keep my things prioritized. She says, we'll deal with that later. Right now,
Yeah.
I would just like to enjoy the Christmas spirit." And then Ivy asks Julian if he remembers Sheila, and he says,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, she looks somewhat familiar, but he has no clue what's going on either.
I mean, he was drunk,
He's
so
oblivious.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
So how
oblivious
is
to
he gonna
everything.
remember anybody? I mean, granted, he doesn't even remember getting married. So
That's
how is he
true.
gonna remember anybody?
So at this point, this was the weirdest. This was so weird because Chad and
Yeah.
Whitney are there. Everybody's there. Chad, Whitney, Rebecca, Julian, Teresa, Pilar, Ivy, I think, and Ethan. I think that's it. But it's a room full of people, and Sheila standing around looking at this maid. And at this point, Pilar steps in and tells Sheila, she says, "If you're going to work here, you need to know everyone's story." But she doesn't tell everyone's story. She just tells Teresa's story.
Yeah. And
And she,
also, why? Why do you need to tell staff people's laundry business?
yeah, like they're deep dark secrets. On the one hand, if you're gonna be a maid in a home, and like and what's her name? Pilar is the head housekeeper, and so
Mm-hmm.
it is important to know the people that you work for and what kind of people they are. And I think
Of
it
course.
is part of Pilar's job to kind of give them the lay of the land. But this is beyond the scope of that for sure.
Of course. Yeah.
She
And it should
basically
be coming from Pilar, not I.
Yeah. Well, and it is coming from Pilar because she steps up in front of everybody and tells Sheila everything
Yeah.
that happened to Teresa in Bermuda, and
Mm-hmm.
she explains it in a way to Sheila where it would appeal to her heart and her conscience. And
Mm-hmm.
Ivy then looks at Sheila and asks if she remembers seeing Teresa at the resort with anyone else. And Sheila answers, "No, I don't remember seeing her." Because
She covered.
Sheila had already confirmed to Ivy that she did recognize Teresa, she did recognize Julian, and that she did see them in bed together. But after Pilar's speech, which I'm not going to give y'all the whole speech because y'all know what happened in
Yeah.
Bermuda, and you know how
Yeah. No.
Pilar would have
And we know that
characterized
Pilar's
it.
covering for her daughter's lives.
Right. So Sheila says, "No, I don't recognize them." And Ivy says, "Think," very forcefully. She's like, "Think harder, Sheila." But
Mm-hmm.
she says, "You really need to think about this, Sheila." But Sheila doubles down. She holds her ground. She says, "I'm positive. I don't know them. I've never seen them before." Then
Mm-hmm.
Ethan finally kind of gets hip and is like, "Mother, is there a problem?" "Is there a problem?" And Ivy says, "No, I just need to speak to Sheila separately." And Ivy tells Sheila that she says, "I'm very disappointed in you, Sheila."
Mm-hmm.
And Sheila says, "Well, I could tell by looking at Teresa how much she loves Ethan. I could see it in her eyes." And Ivy says that's
The
the
only thing in Teresa's eyes was fear. I don't know what
I
love
don't
you
know.
were seeing,
I think she definitely loves Ethan. And I'm and I-
but in
she
those
definitely saw
moments,
the
she.
terror in her eyes, but I
Mhm.
think that you can I think that yeah, the fear is stemming from the love that she does have for Ethan and the terror of losing him, right? The fear of losing him cuz I really do think while I don't necessarily agree with the way all of this is handled by Theresa, I really do think that her driving force truly is that she loves Ethan so much and she doesn't want to lose him. I do. I do
Yeah.
think that's her
Oh,
driving force.
that is definitely her number one concern
Yeah, I don't think
above
because I
anyone and everything else.
yeah, because I think it's easy to look at her and think like she just doesn't want to get caught, like she doesn't want to lose
Well,
Ethan,
she
but she
doesn't
also
want
doesn't
to
want to
get
get caught.
caught because she will lose Ethan. It all
Right,
goes back to losing Ethan
right. But I don't
because
think
she
it's
doesn't trust Ethan or their love for each other. That's always been my biggest thing. Like, you keep so many lies and you do so many plots because you don't trust them.
to be fair in this particular instance to Teresa, as far as not trusting Ethan, listen to what Ethan's saying. You know,
Oh, I know. I mean, he's
listen
an
to things
idiot.
that he's saying at this point about like abortion and babies and all the things. It's like, yeah, she probably is right. He probably will leave her. And I I also want to reiterate, Teresa found out she was pregnant yesterday. She found out she was pregnant
I
with
know.
Julian's baby yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
She just hasn't had the time. She hasn't had the time. And she doesn't have any time. She doesn't have any
Mm-hmm.
time. So anyway, Ethan is like, is there a problem, mother? And so then Ivy talks to Sheila and tells Sheila, oh, Sheila says, I could see the love in her eyes. She really loves Ethan. And Ivy says, that's the last thing you'll ever see in this country. You're going back to the island and you're flying coach. And
Now,
Teresa,
would you lose your job over some strangers you've never met?
here's the thing. Uh, do you want to work in this mansion? Here's the thing. Is this lady from Bermuda? Like, does she, is her whole life in Bermuda? Because what happened was she was flown into Harmony. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that Ivy was hiring her. She just
Mm-hmm.
was told that the Ivy Crane wanted to speak with her. So she was flown in without knowing that she was supposed to be starting a new job. And then she gets there and they're like, well, you work here now. And we are going to pay you triple what you were making on the
Mm-hmm.
island. But still, like that lady's whole life is on the island. I don't think she has that big of a problem going back to the island and like going back to the resort because I also don't think Ivy has any hiring and firing power at the resort. You know what I mean? This lady can go back to the
Well,
resort and
it's
go
the
back to her
Crane
job.
Resort.
Yeah, but
So
Ivy's no longer Ivy Crane. She thinks she is. She wants to be. She's not.
the staff is still listening to her.
At the mansion.
Yeah.
At the mansion and it's very I think the lady can go back to the island and get her job back and be fine. Like I don't think they even knew that she was supposed to be not working there anymore. You know what I mean?
It's like, where did Sheila go? I don't know.
Yeah.
This
Sheila's
is
been
her
gone for a couple of
shift.
days. Yeah. They probably never even took her off the schedule. So she can just go back.
She still go back. Yeah.
And that's what she's doing. She's going back to her life in Bermuda. Good for her. Because Ivy just kidnapped her. Ivy kidnapped her in
But she was just
style.
getting triple.
Yeah,
Like,
she
if you
sure.
have family and you needed to send money back to your family, that could have been like a good opportunity.
I think it would have been a good opportunity for Sheila, but I think also Sheila was doing fine where she was. You
I
know,
mean, we don't know,
we don't
honestly. We don't
know,
know if
but
this would have been something that was good for her, bad for her. All we know is that she ended up covering for people she don't even know.
that's true. But she took the hit. And you know what? Thank you, girl. So Teresa is in awe of what her mother has just done for her. But Pilar tells her, you need to tell Ethan the truth. That's your only hope of keeping him. It's your
Mm-hmm.
only choice here. Then Ethan finally is like, Mother, why did you call us over here? What are we doing here? What is going on? And so she starts to scramble and she sees a $10,000 check that she had written to the children's home. And she says, oh, I wanted to give you this check because I knew I know that that was Sheridan's favorite charity. I wanted you to be able to
Hmm.
take it over there to give it to them. And all's fair, all's well, basically.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
but as they're leaving, Ivy grabs Teresa by her like by her arm and tells her,
Hmm.
"I know your secret. And while my plan may have failed this time, it won't take long for Ethan to find out that you're pregnant. How will you explain that to Ethan?" And then Teresa just walks off from her. She says nothing to her, and
Yeah.
she tells Whitney that Ivy knows I have to terminate this pregnancy.
Hmm.
And so the next day, Pilar and Teresa are in the kitchen, kind of discussing the events of the night before. Um, Pilar tells her, I bought you some time, but you have to be honest with Ethan. There's no other way. Teresa, under her breath, is like, "There is another way, Mama. You're not going to like it." But
Hmm.
she doesn't tell Pilar. Teresa's on her way out the door to get her abortion. And
Yes.
and something happens where she like drops her purse and her like appointment card for the Harmony Women's
Women.
Clinic falls out of her
Yeah.
purse. Pilar picks it up and is like, "Teresa, please tell me that you are not thinking of doing what I think you're thinking of doing, right? Please
Hmm.
tell me that you are not going to go get an abortion today." And Teresa says, "Yeah, Mama, I am. I I have no other choice. This is my only choice. I can't tell Ethan that I'm pregnant with Julian's child. That will My life
Hmm.
will be destroyed." To which Pilar retorts, "What about your baby's life?" Ugh. Ugh. Ugh.
So heavy-handed. I
Ugh.
mean, but to sort of explain, at least Pilar is very religious. She's also Hispanic, and those are what you would typically hear from someone who is Pilar. So I can't fault her for feeling that way because that is her religious conviction, and she's allowed to have those opinions.
Yeah.
She's not allowed to make those opinions of for other people,
Right.
but she is allowed to have those opinions for herself.
She can't make the choice for other people. She's allowed to have
Yeah.
the opinion. She can't make the choice for other people. And so then Pilar goes in about, it's a baby, it's a life. You'll be ending the life of an innocent baby. If you think about the precious creature growing inside you, then you wouldn't be able to terminate this pregnancy. It's like, I'm sorry. I get it. I get like this is true to Pilar's character, but like Teresa is your actual child standing in
Hmm.
front of you, pregnant with, for all intents and purposes, her rapist's baby. And this is all that you can.
That's that's what bothers me. It's one thing that, okay, you don't, life at conception, if that's where you stand. But this girl was taken advantage of and she did not consent to the sex and obviously not to be pregnant. So she should be able to control what then happens. Though I will always defend her right to do what she needs to do. Fine to have the abortion. I'm not crazy about her reason because it is. She never says, "Oh, it's a rapist baby" or anything. It's always about, "I don't want to lose Ethan." It's almost like women who want to like trap guys and have babies to keep men. Like, don't do the abortion because you want to keep a man. That like, but at the same time, but if that's what you want to do, that's your body. You do it.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Again, I fought, of course, I fought Passions for the way that they wrote this. I think I talked
Mm-hmm.
about that last week about how the reasoning around the want of the to terminate the pregnancy for both
Yeah.
her and that other girl
it,
Lynn,
it wasn't
I
done
didn't
correctly. It
I didn't
should have
like that at
really been
all.
focused about the fact that she should have been bringing up the fact I did not consent to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not anything that I ever would have chosen. It's not something that I want. It's not something that I don't know that I can emotionally go through with
Mm-hmm.
this.
Because she is still a child, as you said. I'm pretty sure this week she said she was still 18. Because
Maybe.
wasn't they trying to toast or something and she didn't want to drink?
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how old Teresa is anymore because on the island, she talked about how to Julian how she can't drink because she's underage. But then at the house, they were like toasting to her annulment or whatever. Eve comes in and tells her, "Teresa, you can't drink," and plays it off. And then Ethan says to her, well, that's fine. You can drink at when we go to the lobster shack. It's like, is the lobster shack gonna serve her alcohol? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not.
Yeah, it's
But if
really
she said
weird.
that she was 18, I then I'll go with that for sure. Because that was what the impression I was under. And this is where I can connect Noah. This is where we can connect Noah to the story. If Noah is still in his freshman year, then Theresa is still 18. Because he's been
Yeah,
in his freshman year since the
true.
beginning of this show,
Yeah.
apparently, allegedly, according to what they're saying this week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Theresa Pilar is saying all of the things that a religious mother might say to their daughter about
Mm-hmm.
wanting to terminate a pregnancy. Pilar, oh, this one I hated. I hated this. Pilar says, I know you want this all to be behind you, and this option feels like a quick fix, but it isn't. If you allow your baby's life to be taken, then the repercussions will haunt you for the rest of your life and you will never get over it. You know what you will have for the rest of your entire life? A child.
The baby. Yeah,
Yeah.
the child. Where Ethan and Teresa already said they have no money and can't afford a child.
Let alone somebody else's.
Yeah, Julian's child.
Right? Oh God. Which I don't know. I don't think I don't know if Julian would even pay child support if it all came out the way that the truth and everything. The
Mm-hmm.
Teresa feels like obviously that Ethan would leave her and that Julian would take her baby. But I think honestly, I think Julian would leave her high and dry as a single mother. I don't think he would take her baby. I don't think he wants anything to do with a baby.
Unless
You
he sort
know?
of feels like he needs to replace Ethan.
Yeah. Well, he has Fox. He has other
No
children.
one thinks about Fox. Fox who?
Fox who for sure. So yes, Pilar starts in with the guilt trip. I failed you as a mother. This is my fault. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Teresa says, Mama, this isn't your fault. This is my decision and it's my choice. Only I can make. Yes.
thank
Um,
that. I agree with that.
but then Pilar says,
It
I
is.
am your mother and I will not allow it. Teresa says, Mama, no disrespect, but there is nothing you can do to stop me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of this back and forth. Eventually, because Pilar says a lot of stuff that I didn't care for it. Pilar at one point, Pilar says, "How can you do this, especially now at Christmas when we celebrate the birth of our Savior? It's an insult to all that's decent and holy." I mean, she really lays it on so thick.
Yeah,
And
but it
Teresa,
is Christmas week, so
yeah,
and a
I,
lot of little girls are watching this, and we really are
mhm.
trying to push this message of abortion is bad.
Thing that Pilar said that bothered me was that she was like, and I told you about Antonio calling and that he'll probably be home for Christmas. How can you stain and ruin such a happy occasion? Delusional girl. You delusional if you think your son
Well,
coming.
no one knows. The only
You
one that'll be in distress would be you.
you literally heard him say, hi mama, and then nothing else, never. And then when you
Mhm.
tried to call him back, he didn't answer the phone. What makes you think he'll be home for Christmas? And
Yeah,
that is going to be a happy occasion. How could you stain such a happy occasion? It's already stained, mama. Like, come on. Come on. Um, so then there's all talk about killing Julian. We can't tell. I can't tell the truth because Julian will be murdered, and your son will
Ethan will
spend the rest of his
spend the
life
rest of
in
his time. Yeah,
jail and whatever.
because men can't seem to control themselves in harmony. Everyone's about to commit murder. Doesn't matter because Sam's not going to arrest you anyway.
Yeah, well, and Pilar, that's true. Someone's gonna arrest them anyway. That's very true. They will find a way to cover that up. They will
Exactly.
absolutely find a way to cover that up. Absolutely. Everybody in town hates Julian. If he
They
turns
didn't
up
eat,
dead,
kill Orville. No
mm,
one ever looked into that.
well, he's not dead. She sent him away.
Oh,
she
that's
she
right.
hit him
But
with
she
her
ran
car.
him
She
over.
hit him with her car, and they never figured out who killed, who hit him or
Nope.
her, their car, who
Yeah,
committed that hit and run. They never figured out who hit Simone either.
that's
They
right.
never figured out who killed Crystal. They don't solve crimes in this town. They only commit
They
them.
don't. They only commit them. Did Teresa ever have to pay for Miguel's bike that she destroyed or the other guy's car?
Hello?
You know?
Did
It
anything ever happen? I don't see
yeah,
these
yeah.
people ever getting in. You know what? The only person that they done put in jail are two people: Sheridan Crane and David Hastings.
Yes.
Sheridan got put in jail for some trumped up bullshit by Luis
Yep.
because he was on a
Yep.
power trip. And David
Exactly.
also now David did belong in jail
No,
because he had kidnapped
David kidnapped a woman.
Grace. But the only reason he ended up in jail was because he had kidnapped the police chief's wife. That's it.
Yeah.
If it had been
Yeah,
any
but
other
then the
woman,
police chief is trying to make bargains. Like, I'll let you go if you just leave Harmony. Dude, that's not how the law works.
yeah, what about his arraignment?
Yeah,
What about his rights as a citizen of the United States of America? Ever heard of habeas corpus?
yeah.
Like, come on now. No, there's no
Uh,
law in this town. This town is
no,
lawless. This town is
lawless.
lawless. So yes,
But
I agree. I agree. They absolutely would just cover up Julian's murder. Though we do see Julian get quote murdered
yeah,
and
later.
soon,
We're not there
soon.
yet.
We're getting there. We're coming up on Julian's murder, and they don't solve that crime either.
No.
They don't
Well,
actually
I
solve.
mean,
They do
spoiler
try
alert,
to.
he was never dead,
Yeah,
so there was
they do.
never a murder.
They do try to solve his murder, but
Yeah.
they
Well,
don't.
yeah, and that's the whole other Teresa storyline we'll get into.
Ugh, Teresa, bless her heart, my baby, my poor baby. Not thinking, not
uh,
she don't use her brain all the time.
uh,
So Pilar says to Teresa, because Teresa's like, if they find out that Julian did this to me, they'll kill him and they'll go to jail. And Pilar says, what do you think Luis and Ethan will do if they find out what you've done to your baby? Are you trying to tell me that they would murder Teresa? What are you trying to say, Pilar?
I think more that she was that Luis will be angry and that Ethan will leave her.
But
I don't think they were talk. She was saying that they were gonna kill her. It was just that they were gonna be disappointed with her, and
so
Ethan
how is
will
that?
leave her.
But so how is that an equivalency to what Teresa said? Which is because Pilar says that in response to Luis and Ethan will spend the rest of their lives in jail for killing Julian, and she's like, "Well, what do you think they'll do if you kill your baby?"
Yeah,
What?
yeah. She's just trying to pull at straws, trying to get something to get her to not
Yeah.
decide to do this.
So Pilar just won't back down. Teresa will not back down either, and she leaves. She's like,
Yeah,
I gotta go. She heads out to the clinic, and uh
and
Ethan,
into
what?
yeah. No, I was gonna say she runs into Whitney
Yes.
and eventually Ethan.
Yeah. Whitney catches up
And
with
Whitney's
Teresa.
another one that's like, you can't kill your baby. And like, obviously, everyone here is Christian. Everyone here, doesn't believe in abortion.
Yeah, and the thing about Whitney, what I guess I will give to Whitney a little bit is that she is young,
Hmm.
and so the younger you are, the easier it is to I feel like the easier it is to see things in the terms of black and white because you haven't seen all the gray areas of life and how
Yeah.
things can be really complicated.
Hmm.
Um, but also this your best friend and it's not your life.
Yeah.
You need to be supportive of her.
Exactly.
I get that you don't agree and I get that you um are worried about your friend. I get that. I really do. But
Hmm.
it's not your life, babe, and this is your best friend and you really just gonna and you ride with her about all the other bullshit. Ride with her on
Exactly.
ride with her when it's something that actually means something that's actually
Hmm.
really important.
Instead of
Um
trying to push her to not have the abortion, she should be more trying to convince her to tell Ethan.
the truth. Yes.
Tell Ethan the truth because
Yeah.
either Ethan will leave you, which then what does that say about him? Do you really want to be with someone like that? Or he will
Exactly.
support you in your decision.
Exactly. You're exactly right. But she's not doing that. She catches up with her.
No,
She lectures her some more, even though she says she won't. And then they head over to the clinic. Because she does say that Teresa shouldn't be by herself, and I
that,
don't
yeah.
think they'll let you do that with by yourself. You have to
No,
have
because
somebody.
afterwards you need someone to
Yeah.
take you home.
Yeah. So at this point, Chad and Ethan catch up with them and find them on the street.
Mhm.
And Ethan's like, all right, guys, you ready to go? And Teresa's like, what are you talking about? He's like, remember, we have to go to the orphanage today. Of course, Passion sends them to a children's home. He's like, we
Of
have all these
course.
gifts to take to the kids, and we have that check from my mother, and we need to take it over to the children's home. And he says to Teresa, because Teresa says, well, I had something to do. He says, well, whatever it is, it can wait because I know there's nothing you love more than kids, right, Teresa? So they head over to the orphanage together. So they go and they meet the lady in charge, Anita, and her husband Wally, I think was his name, or Larry, either Larry or Wally. I
Oh,
couldn't
I
write
didn't
it down.
write down their names.
I
I don't
wrote her
know.
name, but then I didn't write down his. But they meet her.
Mhm.
They talk. She talks to them about like, yeah, the the trick to lasting marriage is just having the same values about the big things like abortion. Like it's so so
It's
on the nose.
whenever they're on a storyline, everyone all of a sudden is on that topic.
And then somebody hands Teresa a baby, a crying baby to
A
soothe.
crying baby who's probably colicky.
Yeah, and she's like, soothing it, and I think one of the people, maybe Wally, Anita, somebody says, look at you, you're a natural, she's a natural. And Ethan's like, yeah, I can't wait for Teresa to have babies, I can't wait for you to get pregnant, you're gonna be the best mother, just laying it on very
But it's
thick
weird.
about
They hand her the
motherhood.
baby. She quiets the baby, and they're like, "See, you're a great mother because she can quiet a baby." Like that's
Lo-
the. I mean, it's important, sure, but like all of a sudden you're like a Mother Teresa because you can quiet a baby that you're holding.
she's a natural because
She's a natural.
she's holding a baby that stopped crying, right? Like she
Yeah.
managed to get it to stop crying. Like fine, if that's the case, then I was a natural at 14 as well because I was babysitting all the time, right? And apparently she used to babysit a lot, so of course she would be able
Yeah.
to soothe the baby. um
Yeah.
so but Teresa is enamored with this baby. She's looking at it. She's
Mm.
smiling.
I mean,
She's
she
loving
loves
on it. Yeah,
babies, and
babies
it's
are.
not
Who
like this
doesn't love a
decision is
baby?
easy for her either. Let's also remember she is very, very conflicted about having to do it because you can kind of tell that she does believe in a lot of what her mother believes,
Hmm.
but now that she's in that situation, she's now seeing the gray, as you would say. I'm pretty sure that if it was someone else, oh no, that's
Yeah,
wrong. She'd be like Whitney. But now that she's in that situation, she's now realized, and it's a heavy decision. No one does it lightly. No one just wakes up and go, oh, I'm gonna go down and have an abortion. Like it's not. No, it's always a heavy decision.
it's always, even if you are certain about it, right? It's still just got to be an extremely tough choice to make. There's no good.
Mhm.
It means there's no good choice to make, and that sometimes you find yourself in situations in life where, because people would say, yeah, you just have to make better choices, you have to make better choices. Sometimes you don't have a better choice to choose from, right? Like you don't have a
Mhm.
good choice to choose from, you just have a less bad choice,
Yeah.
right? But all the choices in front of you are terrible, and you just have to choose one. And that's kind of the position Teresa is in,
Yeah. She is battling her conscience over it. She knows what she wants to do, but she's not happy about it.
at all. She doesn't want to do this. And like you said, no woman, I don't think there's any women that do it lightly. It's not a
No.
no. And so they there's a lot of talk about Ethan looking at the baby, and he's like, yeah, I can't believe that I wish more women would give their babies up for adoption instead of having abortions, because he looks at the baby and he's like, yeah, this baby won't be here long. This house is full of children. Let me be clear. This house is full of children, and that is one of the arguments that pro choice people make, is like, yeah, you can give kids up for adoption, but then you have a ton of these kids. There's a ton of kids already in the system who never get
Yeah.
adopted.
No,
And
and the older they get, the harder it is for them to get adopted. Babies will be picked up quickly.
but the older they get, the harder it is for them to get adopted. And so the in the show this week, the lady Anita is like, yeah, most of these kids haven't been here that long. These kids are new to the kids get adopted, like as if kids get adopted like that constantly, which is not the
Hmm.
case, which is not true. But
Not a reality.
it was just a way for
Heavy handed.
passions to make the argument for adoption over abortion, because look, it's great for children, they get adopted, look how easy it is. They don't get adopted, a lot of kids don't get adopted actually. So anyway, Ethan says, I just wish more women would put their babies up for adoption instead of having abortions. Like, shut up.
Oh
Shut up.
God. Oh,
Where did that even come from? You know what I mean? Where'd that comment even
they
come
needed
from?
to have Ethan have an opinion to help push Theresa into wanting to do it even more because of fear of losing him. But honestly, shut the fuck up, Ethan.
Shut the
It's
fuck
none of
up,
your
Ethan.
business
Shut the fuck up.
what any woman needs to do.
Yeah, especially a woman that you don't know. Just
Yeah.
just women
You
in
don't know
general.
why she gave up that child.
Yeah. He gets on my nerves. After
Yeah.
this whole nonsense at the orphanage, they go to midnight mass. Father
Here we go.
Lonigan, Father Lonigan
Yeah.
catches them at the beginning before mass and says, I want to talk to you about a very special baby. And he tells them that he wants them to be the couple to bring the baby Jesus out during the processional and lay him into
Hmm.
the manger. So
Yeah.
they're waiting in the back of the church, and Father Lonigan can sense that Theresa is troubled. He
Hmm.
tells her, whatever it is, Theresa, I know that the church has been your home your entire life. Your entire life you found answers to your problems here at the church, and I would advise you to find the answer to this problem, whatever it is, at the church again. Like, turn to the church, turn to the Lord, basic. They don't really say the Lord in this show. They don't talk about
No,
the
not really.
Lord. They don't really talk about Jesus. They don't really talk about God. It's so interesting for it to be
Yeah.
such a moral type of show, and to have like all of this religious iconography. They don't use the
The
terminology
language.
that actual
Yeah.
religious people would use, right? They don't talk about
Yeah.
God, they don't talk about Jesus. Like the only time you hear them talk about Jesus is at Christmas time, and they barely talk about it then. But
Yeah, because
anyway,
Father Lonergan is calling it the baby.
yes, the baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so odd. It's so odd. And it's interesting because maybe they thought that it would like alienate people for some reason, but you're using
There
all the
are
other
a
things.
lot of different Christianity branches, but I mean, they all rootly believe in Jesus.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
and
the
you're
whole
doing
point
a
of
lot of
Christianity.
and you do a lot of like Catholic stuff, right?
Yeah.
But okay, I don't know. It's weird the way they write this. But
Hmm.
anyway, he tells her to turn to the church
Yeah.
and find her answer in whatever her problem is. Find the answer in her church. Ethan and Theresa then bring the baby down the aisle, lays it in the manger, and then it morphs into a real baby right before Theresa's eyes, and then she starts to cry. Right,
Yeah.
like it's again so heavy-handed, so heavy-handed. We know exactly what they're doing here. She begins
Hmm.
to cry. Ethan, the idiot that he is, comforts her and says, "Oh, Theresa, I know how much you love Christmas and how emotional it makes you because you like it so much."
Mm.
Okay. So he thinks she's crying tears of joy over placing a baby doll into a manger. If your
Yeah.
girlfriend or fiance or whoever starts sobbing because she lays a baby into a manger, something is going on.
Ethan does not pay attention at all to
dig a little
anything.
deeper.
Hmm.
Just a little deeper, but he refuses to. So after the mass, Pilar comes up to Theresa and asks her if Mass had made her reconsider her choice, but Theresa says, I'm sorry,
Nope.
Mama. The only thing I believe in now is keeping Ethan and protecting him. So Ethan is now her religion. We've moved, like
Yeah.
I've always said that she's obsessed with Ethan. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
obsession. And now she's
Since
like,
day one.
now he's her religion, basically. She's like, the only thing, like, fuck this church, fuck all of this,
Hmm.
the only thing I believe in is Ethan, and keeping Ethan. So yeah, that she's still gonna go through it. Then to finish this up, they go home. and they start to like make love. Ethan says something about her
Yeah.
being on the pill. And she's like, "Show me, Ethan. Show me that you love me." What? I didn't care for any of it.
But like, what happened to like waiting until? I mean, granted, they already did do it, but like, don't you still want to wait? Apparently not.
I don't
What
think
was
so
weird
anymore.
is that he asked, "Oh, but what about Pilar?" And she's like, "She's not home, but she's sleeping in the other room.
Yeah,
How's
I
she
don't
not
know.
home?"
Again, it was poor writing, sloppy writing
It was really
from the
bad,
Passions.
like continuity because she's not home. She's sleeping.
Yeah, of course she's home. Y'all came home after a midnight mass. Is where would she be in this town at 1 a.m., 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. It's ridiculous. But that's it for the show today. I will say there's one last little bit we would need to talk about Chad and Whitney, but it's tiny. But I want to talk about it because we're
Okay.
finally circling back to
Yeah.
Chad and Whitney talking about their
Yes.
own relationship. And Chad tells Whitney at Mass that they need to talk about us. And Whitney tells him there is no us. And they're just reminding us that Whitney made a promise to God. She says,
Hmm.
I made a promise to God when Simone nearly died. And Chad says, well, she wouldn't hold you to that promise. And he says, we just need to tell Simone, and that's when Simone pops into the conversation and she's like, "Tell me what?" And Whitney lies in church on Christmas. Little Miss High and Holy lying in church
Yeah.
on Christmas, saying that they were just talking
Hmm.
about her Christmas gift and that she some bullshit about a Christmas gift. But y'all, we're finally circling back to Chad and Whitney. Thank
Yeah.
goodness. I do miss that storyline, and it's one of the iconic ones. This whole like, aren't they brother and sister kind of thing, you know?
Yes.
It's one of the biggest
Yes.
things I remember from Passions is that Chad and Whitney might have been siblings. Or at this point, the show has explicitly told us that they are siblings. It
I
has.
think so.
Yeah, at this
Yeah.
point, the show has explicitly told us that they are in fact siblings, that Chad is in
Or
fact.
heavily implied it because Liz is already in the picture
They
for
said
them
it.
to do the switcheroo.
They're gonna do the switcheroo, but they said it. Julian, not Julian, Alistair. Alistair says no one can ever find out that Chad Harris is Julian and Eve's son. He said that in like 300 episodes ago when they were doing the whole DNA thing
Oh.
and they changed the results in the thing. He
You
said
sure
that
they
so
didn't like try to be very you sure he
he
wasn't
said
cryptic about like that
no.
he's a crane?
I remember that. I remember that so vividly because you and I we know the truth, right?
Yeah,
And
we
so I was
know
like,
who
and so
his
I
real
was like,
father is.
oh, they really did like rewrite this. Like they really did rewrite it because
Yeah.
Alistair
I
says explicitly, no one can ever find out that Chad Harris is Eve and Julian's child or son. I remember that. Yeah.
okay.
So that's it for the episode today. I'm gonna go celebrate my niece's birthday. Got to go pick up her birthday cake. I
Ooh,
know I love cake, so I love birthdays, and I love my niece.
yay.
I'm so excited. So that's it for the episode, everybody. Maria, want people to follow you? You want to give people where they can follow
They
you
can find me
online?
on the Discord.
Yeah, come to the
Join.
Discord. Join the
Come to
Discord.
the Discord.
And as always, you can find me on all the social media. Check the link in the description. Thank you so much, Maria, for being here. It was a lot of
No
fun.
problem.
And
Yes.
with that, you are my passion for life.
Bye guys.